Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's section. We have Jiwei from the Department of Chinese and Bilingual Studies, who will be discussing on the cognitive decline in the age of AI, how large language models reshape learning patterns and strategies. At a time when the AI is being relied by the HI, this topic couldn't be more timely. So make welcome Jiwei.
So good morning, everyone. I'm Jiwei Ma, come from the Department of Chinese and Bilingual Studies in the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Today, we will be discussing a critical topic at the intersection of technology and education. Cognitive decline in the age of AI, how large language models reshape learning patterns and strategies. We will explore both the incredible opportunities the AI tools offer and the significant risks they pose to cognitive development. Our goal is to foster a discussion on how we can harness the power of large language model responsibly. Let us start with background. The world of education is currently experiencing a massive shift. To understand the scale of this shift, let's look at the numbers. Recently, a survey conducted by UK's Higher Education Policy Institute indicated that 92% of students use AI in some form, up from 66% in the 2024, and some 88% having used GenAI for assessments, up from 53% in 2024. In Hong Kong, we've seen a rapid evaluation in university policies, moving from initial bans to active integration. Between December 2022 and August 2023, universities initially adapted various policies, encouraged, restricted, and prohibited use. By September 2023, most lifted bans on large language models. We can find this change from the left finger. It presents data on the usage of ChatGPT by HKUST members from August to October 2023. This policy evaluation in Hong Kong, from initial bans to subsequent integration, mirror global trends. Also highlights the ongoing tension between leveraging AI's advantages and mitigating its risks. With the widespread adoption of large language models, we encountered a reality that is the usage of large language model bring dual impact in education. Based on this research, we easily observed that the top 3 motivations to use AI tools among students. Over half of them aim to save time and to improve the quality of their work with the help of AI tools. 40% students want to get instant support. To develop an effective strategy, we need to understand why students are so into these tools. The data speaks for itself. Their motivations are based on a rational, practical calculation of costs and benefits. The top drivers are getting better grades more quickly by saving time and improving the quality of their work. For students, the AI tools offer opportunities to enhance productivity and efficiency, which help them perform better in assessments. But of course, they still face a lot of challenges, especially the decline of their cognitive abilities when depend too much on large language models. Let us first focus on the positives. The efficiency gains from using large language models are undeniable. Studies have shown that large language models significantly boost short-term performance. AI groups outperforming even human expert-guided groups, particularly in structured tasks like essay writing. This is particularly due to a phenomenon known as cognitive offloading. Large language models are designed to augment human intelligence, handling broad or complex calculations. thereby allowing students to offload cognitive responsibilities, which enabling them to focus on more important cognitive tasks. Furthermore, large language models adapt their responses to students' individual strengths and weaknesses, providing tailored guidance and instant feedback, which enhance engagement and performance. But widespread of large language model still remain a lot of challenges in education. Many students have discussed about the challenges include but not limited like academic misconduct. The widespread adoption of large language models has been accompanied by an equally widespread crisis in academic integrity. Hallucination. Large language model search engines were found to confidently provide wrong answers more than 60% of the time, which users may mistakenly accept. Today, I would like to discuss in depth the most significant and the concerning side effect of using large language models, the decline of cognitive abilities. To better understand the cognitive impact of large language models, we need a structured framework. Bloom's taxonomy is a well-established model for categorizing cognitive skills, provides a valuable and structured lens for understanding how large language models impact learning. This diagram shows the Bloom's taxonomy for the cognitive domain arranged as a pyramid from lower order thinking to higher order thinking skills. The base of this pyramid, remembering, represents skills in which students must recall specific facts. The next level, understanding, represents skills in which students must grasp the meaning of instructional materials. At the next level, applying, students must using information in a new but similar situation to one they have practiced in the past. At the analyzing stage, students must take apart and identify relationships among the materials that is known. At the next to highest stage, evaluation, students examine information and make judgments. At the top of the pyramid, creating, students use information to create something new. A recent computational linguistics studies from Huber and Nicholas to measure the performance of leading large language models like GPT-4 and Llama 3 against the 6 cognitive levels of Bloom's taxonomy. The table clearly shows high accuracy score for tasks in the remember, understand, and apply categories, with a noticeable decline in performance for analyzed tasks. They evaluate and create categories as shown with no data. Digging deeper into the data, we see that large language models constantly perform well on the task at the bottom of Bloom's pyramid. They can record facts, summarize text, and apply information in straightforward situation. However, their performance drops off significantly when it comes to analysis. And these standard tests used to evaluate new large language models don't even assess their ability to evaluate information or create original work. Studies consistently show that large language models perform better on the lower end of Bloom's taxonomy. They score highly on tasks mapped to the remember and understand dimensions, demonstrating proficiency in factual recall and comprehension. Their performance on the apply dimension, which involves using information in new situation, is also generally good. Conversely, they exhibit significant weaknesses in higher order thinking, particularly in the analyzed dimension. They underperform on tasks requiring deeper reasoning, such as detecting sarcasm, which necessitates understanding no sequential nuances. Crucially, none of the standard benchmarks currently used to evaluate large language models cover the evaluate or create dimensions of Bloom's taxonomy. This indicates a significant gap in current large language model evaluation methods, leaving the true performance of large language models in the critical cognitive skills unclear, involving making judgments, generating new ideas, or producing original works. Based on the above analysis, we can summarize the three key challenges regarding potential cognitive decline posed by large language models between their rapid development and the growing prevalence. One major challenge is the imbalance in cognitive skills that can develop when students rely heavily on large language models. These AI tools are very effective at helping with basic tasks, like remembering facts and understanding information. However, they are much less effective when it comes to higher level skills, such as analyzing, evaluating, and creating. If students mostly use large language models for the easier tasks, they may neglect the development of these deeper, more complex abilities, skills that are essential for problem solving, innovation, and critical thinking. Over time, this could lead to a situation where students have easy access to basic knowledge, but their capacity for deep, independent intellectual works begins to weaken. Another important issue is the trade-off between short-term performance and long-term learning. Large language models can help students complete tasks more quickly and may even improve their grades in the short run. However, they do not effectively support the development of higher order thinking skills like analyzing, evaluating, and creating. This creates a paradox. While students may appear to be performing better, they may actually be missing out the deeper cognitive work that leads to true understanding and lasting knowledge. Finally, large language models do not encourage students to reflect on their own learning process. The ability to promote self-awareness or self-regulation, which are key aspects of metacognition. Research shows that relying too much on large language models can lead to what we call metacognitive laziness, which students stop thinking critically about how they learn or how well they understand the materials. This is more than just a gap in evaluation. It's a fundamental limitation of AI tools in learning. Given these challenges, how do we move forward? We can't simply bind these tools. Instead, we need to develop strategies that redefine the importance of cognitive engagement. Let me introduce a comprehensive strategies designed to combat cognitive decline and enhance students' thinking. Built on collaborative approach between AI tools and humans. The core principle is simple. Use large language models as scaffolds, not crutches, transforming efficiency into deep cognitive engagement. This stage is divided into three key phases. Phase 1 is large language model assisted foundation building. We've all seen students freeze at the start of a project, overwhelmed by broad topics and unsure where to begin. Phase 1 addresses this by using large language models as the launchpad for inquiry, not to replace students' thinking, but to help spark it. First, we hold prompt engineering workshops. Here, students learn to craft precise prompts, such as generate 5 research questions on urban pollution in Hong Kong, each with a different variable and two identified knowledge gaps. This isn't just about clicking a button. It requires students to clearly define their interests, activating the brain's project manager, the prefrontal cortex. Without this step, students often get stuck in a vague topic selection. With it, they develop valuable metacognitive discipline. Next, we move to large language model topic validation. Students put the large language model's output to the test. Their task is threefold. Step A, ask the large language model to map out the key debates on their topic. Step 2, identify two gaps in the large language model's analysis. Step C, find a primary source that challenges the large language model's perspective. Students then submit a topic valid report, demonstrating that they have questioned and evaluated the large language model's suggestions, not just accepted them at a face value. The process builds critical evaluation skills from the very beginning, helping to prevent cognitive decline by encouraging active engagement and verification. Phase 1 gives students a strong launch pad. Now in Phase 2, we take away the training wheels. This is where real cognitive growth happens. Through deliberate and guided struggle, if Phase 1 focuses on efficiency, Phase 1 is about building resilience. One key active is our source examination sessions. Students work in group to closely examine different sources, using annotation to highlight strengths and weaknesses. For example, they might ask, why did author ignore conflicting data here? This process forces students to recognize patterns and critically compare information, skills that AI tools alone cannot replicate. It's about active reading, not just passively scrolling through content. Another important exercise is a large language model to human synthesis challenge. Students take a summary generated by large language model and compare it with the original sources. They then rewrite the summary and adding one methodological gap in the large language model missed and making two connections across different sources. Rewriting from memory helps encoding the information more deeply, turning it into lasting knowledge. Finally, students represent their revised summaries, which quickly reveal any gaps in their understanding and help them correct misconception on the spot. Phase 1 gives students a strong launch pad, and Phase 2 challenges them through deep, guided struggle. Now in Phase 3, we take those hard-earned gains and turn them into lasting cognitive skills. This phase is about more than just mastering content. It's about building minds that can adapt, question, and thrive throughout life. One key approach is what we call cognitive friction protocols. Just as our muscles grow stronger through resistance, our thinking becomes sharper when we face deliberate challenges. In this phase, teachers introduce purposeful confusion, like giving students flawed data sets to analyze, switching debate partners in the middle of a discussion, or asking them to defend the opposite viewpoint. These activities may seem chaotic, but they are designed to train cognitive flexibility, helping students learn to adapt when things don't go as expected. Another important element is the use of metacognitive wrappers. After every major task, students take just 3 minutes to reflect on their thinking process. What strategy failed me today? How did I overcome my own bias? Where did AI oversimplify reality? This simple habit helps build self-regulation skills in the brain's prefrontal cortex, which is our first line of defense against cognitive decline. Together, these three phases form an unbreakable chain of cognitive empowerment. Phase 1 gives launchpads using large language models to spark curiosity and break through initial barriers. Phase 2 develops critical depths where guided human struggle turns information into lasting understanding. Phase 3 builds lifelong resilience, training students to thrive in uncertainty and outpace decline. This approach isn't just about teaching, it's cognitive cross training. We'll leverage our large language model speed to create space for the hard human for the hard human work that truly strengthen the brain. Students emerge not just passive consumer of technology, but as architects of their own intellect. This strategy does more than fight cognitive decline. It helps students become thinkers who can adopt, question, and persevere. Because our goal isn't just to create smarter students for today, but sharper, more resilient thinkers for life. In conclusion, the rise of large language models has fundamentally reshaped the educational landscape, offering both remarkable opportunities and significant challenges. While large language models can enhance productivity, personalized learning, and provide instant support, their widespread adoptions also bring real risks. Most notably, the potential for cognitive decline if students become overly reliant on AI tools for lower order thinking tasks. Our analyses show that large language models excel at helping students remember, understand, and apply information. But they fall short in fostering higher order thinking skills like analysis, evaluation, and creation. That this imbalance threatens to undermine deep learning, critical thinking, and the metacognitive development, skills that are essential for lifelong success in a rapid changing world. To address these challenges, we must move beyond simply integrating AI tools into education. Instead, we need intentional strategies that harness the strengths of large language model while actively counteracting their weaknesses. The phase inquiry framework I've outlined today offer a practical path forward. By using large language models as scaffolds rather than crutches, we can ignite inquiry, build cognitive resilience through guided struggle, and ultimately foster adaptable, self-regulated thinkers. The goal is not just to produce students who are more efficient or knowledgeable today, but to cultivate minds that can adapt, question, and thrive for life. By thoughtfully leveraging large language models and prioritizing deep cognitive engagement, we can ensure that the technology serves as a catalyst for intellectual growth, not a substitute for it. This is end of my report. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Jiwei, for that insightful talk. Now we open the floor for questions. If you have any question.
Thank you for your presentation. So one of the beacons of using the GenAI or the LLM is about promoting self-directed learning In other words, students can learn independently in most of the case. So, but in your strategy or for the phrase two, one of the steps is about asking the student to work in groups to do that kind of the critical analysis. I think is one of the key component that allowing the student to do the peer assessment on the word to try to promote cognitive thinking. So, but in other words, how would your framework helps for the task which requires students learn independently, and also if the students have already developed that kind of the habits of the using the GenAI when they learned independently, somehow would they have already bring their cognitive decline habits to the group work while they are working on this?
This one is, okay. Thank you for your question. So I think the first one, we training students to be a group work, and they can use Gen AIs or some AI tools to training their cognitive skills. But of course, we need to get some more details or have real group discussions and to discussing about these questions that you promote. And I think in the future we can have more training empirical studies to discuss about this question. Yes.
Any question, additional questions? Okay.
I want to ask, is there any empirical evidence to show that the cognitive ability is really affected by using a lot of AI?
Oh, yes. Actually, there has a lot of studies by other research groups. They have explored the cognitive decline, especially like metacognitive laziness. They divided like three groups. One group of students, they use Gen AIs to study and to like essay writing, and the other groups may guided by the human expert, and they show their performance even better than the even low on the Gen AI group may show better performance like the human expert guidance, but they cannot actually thinking about what we think and what they do like in the routine of essay writing. So some empirical studies have already evidenced that cognitive decline by over-relying the large language models.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Then before. Right.
Hello, thank you for your insightful presentation. I'm a primary school teacher, and I would just like to know if there's any research done in your pedagogy for maybe P6 children, or would there be any research on
Yes.
younger children?
Yes, I see. Actually, I just give strategies, and we can discussing about these strategies. Maybe it has shortage. Maybe it has some disadvantages, but I think prompt some strategies is let us better to understand how our students be influenced by the over-reliance large language models in today. But I think I will do some empirical research in the future. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jiwei. A round of applause for her, please. The next presenter, Tianchu. I think we do not have second section here. We'll reconvene after the session. Thanks. Okay, yeah, welcome back to this section. And we have Shingo Imai from Logos LLM, and he'll be discussing stabilizing AI-based writing assessment, evaluating the reliability and performance of locally hosted LLMs. Welcome to Shingo Imai. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for coming. Okay, let's start. Okay, so AI is nice. So I'm using AI almost every day, and to save my time, actually I'm a teacher of Japanese language, not English language, but the Japanese language. But as a teacher, I'm doing the same thing as the English teachers. Collect the composition and check the composition and give a grade every day, and that's kind of very busy. So nowadays, I don't do it. So instead of that, I ask the AI to check all the compositions for me and to give a grade. But the problem is, it's not stabilized. It changes. All the time, it changes the evaluation. So it's because the model is changing almost every week or so. So last week, the evaluation is different from today's evaluation. That's not, I don't like. So what I thought is, if I have my own LLM, and if I don't change the model, then the evaluation will be the same. So that's the idea I'm going to talk about today. How do I move this? Why? Doesn't work. This one? This arrow, okay. This arrow, okay, thank you. Okay, challenges in the AI-driven writing assessment. So rapid advancements in the AI writing evaluation. So nowadays a very hot topic of AI evaluation. But since there are so many models, and the models updates every week or so, so it causes a problem. It validates the result of the evaluations. So persistent challenge is inconsistent evaluation and the feedback. Means I'd like to have the consistent evaluation. I don't want to change my evaluation every day according to the model updates. So model changes, the reliability goes down. Maybe it's get better, but it still changes. So I don't want that to change. So I came up with this idea, local LLM. If you have LLM on your computer, and if you don't update that models, it is the same model. And so this is a fixed model, and there are no external changes. And so the evaluation becomes stabilized. And compared to the cloud-based model is the model like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. It changes. Stability is a key for us, for the teachers, because if the composition is the same quality, I want to give the same evaluation. And the quality-wise, it is kind of problem because if you use a big one like ChatGPT, that is a very good model. So you can expect a good evaluation from that one. But if you use a mini size, small size LML, even if it's called LML, but it's not large enough if you compare to the ChatGPT. So it might be a problem, might be not good. If you remember like 2 years ago, the ChatGPT was not so good in the performance, but nowadays it's very good. But 2 years ago it was not. So the small size LLM might have the same problem. And the feasibility validity is yes, that's a key for us. Okay, and large scale remote models, that's good, but I want to have the small one, but still it's comparable to the large model. And this is the notebook I use, and it's a medium size, medium quality notebook, and it has the Windows 11, and the core is Router 7, and the memory is 16 gigabytes. Of course, if you have 32 gigabytes, that's better, but it's more expensive. So I got this one actually last week because of the presentation, because I had a big one like a desktop, but it's kind of old. So I wanted to have the new one, but I don't want to spend much time for this. So I got this one last week. It's a moderate price. And it's 16 gigabyte. That's a problem, actually. 32 is better. I'll talk about that one later. And this is what I use for local LLM. This is the platform. So from this, you can download the models which you like. And this is a model I use this time, Llama 3. 8B means here, gigabyte. Oh, no. 8 means the parameters, 8 billion parameters here. And requirement 8 gigabytes. My computer is 16 gigabytes, so it's okay. But if you have a better one, like 14 billion, okay, that's better because parameter is bigger, so that's better. So I want to use this one, but my computer says 16 gigabyte. Actually, it's calculated 15.51 gigabyte. So a little bit shorter than 16 gigabyte. So this time I couldn't use this one. So I use this smaller one, 8 billion one. So this is, okay, this is a prompt. I use the 4 different prompts. Okay, the first one is very basic, just a short one. And it refers to the CFR and the pre A1 to C2. And this is a little bit sophisticated one with rubric. And this is the first few lines. After that, I put the rubric, starting from here. A1 rubric, this one, pre-A1 rubric. And A1, well, A1.1, A1.2, A21, like this. So I put all the rubrics to the prompt. And next one is the prompt 3. The one shot. One shot means one example. So the first few sentences are the same, but after that, I add the example. This is an example of Japanese composition written by the Japanese learner. And it says this is the B1. So this is human rated. The human rated, this is the B1. So I put this one, the B1. So the computer can understand, AI can understand, oh, this is the B1 example. Okay. So this is one shot. And next one is a rubric plus example. So as I showed before, there was a long list of rubric and one example. It's a combination. I don't show that one, but after this, actually, one example of composition and the rubric followed. So there are 4 prompts. And the result, so I use a local LLM Llama 3 8B, and the temperature is 07. You can change the temperature here. So if you have a temperature like 0, it means you try it again and again. It's the same answer, same evaluation, no change. No change of the feedback either. But if you have a point 0, 1, no, 1.0. It changes. I changed a lot. So I chose average 0.7. So it changes a little bit, but not so much. And the first evaluation means, well, I just checked if I try 2 times, 3 times, still the evaluation is the same or not. It should be same. And this is the answer, actually, feedback from the AI. I didn't ask the, give me the feedback according to vocabulary or whatever, but it just gave us automatically vocabulary, grammar, coherence, the local density. This is the first try. In the second try, almost same, but it changes. The last part changed, okay? The fluency. It changed a little bit, but not so much. The vocabulary, grammar, cohesion. So if you want to get the same answer, exactly same answer, you change the temperature. But this time I wanted to see, which is better or how it changed. And the third one, almost same, but still some changes here, but the label is always the same. The label is almost same, but the feedback changes a little bit. Okay, so I just put it like this. I checked the two, ChatGPT and also the local Llama, and I say same. Evaluation is same, so it's okay. That's just a preliminary check. And this is the result of all the prompts. Okay. So I had 4 prompts. Prompt 1 basic, prompt, and prompt 2 plus rubric, and prompt 3 plus example one shot, and prompt 4 example and rubric combination. So that's the result of the evaluation. So it's almost the same, but still some changes here. Now this is a text 1, text 2, text 3, text 4. I use 4 texts and from the database. And the text 1 is for the lowest one. And the text 4 is more advanced, the most advanced one. And the human data said this text 1 is either A12 or A21. Okay. And the text 4, that's B2 or C1. Text means the composition by the learner. Okay. So it matches to the human data almost, but not exactly. Okay. And if you see the prompt 1, the ChatGPT 4.1, the lowest A22, and the expect it becomes better for text 2, that is A22. It's the same. Okay. So text 3, B1, this one, B2. So it goes up here, but the first 2 are the same. But if you check a local Llama, that one I use this time, starting from A21, next B1, next B2, next C1. That's perfect, actually. That's why I expected it, but I didn't expect that one is better than the ChatGPT 4. And actually, this one got the problem for the prompt 2, prompt 3, and prompt 4. Prompt 1 is very basic. I just just check it. That's it. And this one I gave the rubric, this one I gave the example, the combination. So I expect it becomes better, but what happened here is this is B1, but it's A21. Okay, so if this is B1, it's good, but why it got A21? And this one also, this is C1, okay, B1. And the C2, it's too high. It can't be the C2. So those red figures are the problem. So that's a problem of the quality of the local LLM because it's small. So how do I solve it? The answer is, of course, if I can buy the better Note PC at 32 gigabytes, I think it becomes better. And yes, maybe this time I used only one local LLM, but there are some local LLMs available. So if I check some of them, maybe I can find a better one, but I'm not sure. But in the future, I think I can do it. The conclusion, the local LLM S in the parentheses means that this time I just checked the only one. So I should have checked the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Provide the consistencies. Okay. So I think I can use this one, but not this time. Maybe I have to update the 32 gigabytes to 16 to 32. I should upgrade before I actually use this one in the classroom, but I hope I can do it sometime. I'm done.
Thank you, Ma, for that brilliant presentation. We now open the floor for questions. I think I will go first. So the local LLM is more like kind of a personalized AI. Okay. Yeah, you can.
Okay. No, it's not personalized. You
Okay.
just download the model. That's it.
Okay, and it doesn't go with, you don't update it further, you just leave it in your system.
Yes.
So wouldn't the updated ones have advantage?
What's that?
The updated versions, wouldn't it have advantage for the ones you left without updating? Just like in our system, in kind of Microsoft, if you don't update it, you lose some features. In your Microsoft, more like if you don't update your Microsoft, it loses some features. You don't have access to some features. So if I have my local LLM inside my downloaded in my system without downloading it just to maintain stability, wouldn't it? There will be some features I won't have access to with the newer versions.
No, that's the point. I don't want to renew the model. That's the point. If you renew the model every time, your evaluation changes.
Yes, but you are working with, if you don't renew it, that's my thinking, you don't have access to more features, perhaps more tokens. Perhaps the one you have, the parameter is maybe 8 billion.
No, I can't. No, if you change the prompt, you can check the features like not a vocabulary or cohesion, but you can ask anything you want.
Okay.
In a prompt.
Yeah. Okay.
But I have to really actually update the model because I showed this model has some problem with quality because it's too small. So I have to change it to the bigger one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other question, please? You have question? Okay.
I think the answer to your question would be that one of the advantage of using local LLM, hosting it on your own computer, is that security. Because ethically speaking, we should not upload our students' papers without concern to the online ones. So having it local, it's sort of like the privacy or ethical handling. Because when it's local, you unplug your internet connection, and it can still run. So nothing is going online. That's one of the major advantage of having your local one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So based on the presentation, it seems like you use one shot to train the whole model. So have you ever thought about a lot of people say doing comparison of one shot, three shot, and fine tuning things. So have you ever thought about maybe three shots are better, or after your experiments, one shot is okay?
Actually, yeah, that's a good question. Did I do it? Of course, but not this time, because this time I wanted to see if the decimal model is stabilized enough, and if it's the quality wise it's good enough. Then if I if I think so, maybe I can do the next step, that one, the one shot, two shot, three shot. But actually, it can go up to 100 shots actually. But it is called the lag. So nowadays you can do the lag. I'm not sure about this element, but basically you can do it. So you can put the 100 composition into the system, into AI, and let the AI learn it. So one shot, two shots, three shots, it's kind of old. You can do the 100 shots nowadays.
Okay.
So one problem for local LLM is you don't have a very powerful server. You don't have very powerful server. For example, you are using your laptop that you can only deploy a 8B or 7B, a very small model. The small model is very easy to hallucination. So how do you think could you find a way that can deploy a powerful maybe 70B LLM that's less hallucination, or currently maybe 8B, the small model is already satisfied with your current work, or you are pursuing to have a bigger model in the future?
Yeah, because I want to go to a bigger model. Maybe the 60 gigabyte is not enough, as I mentioned before. So next step is 32 gigabytes. I want to try that. So it becomes a double with the size of the parameters. So it becomes tremendously better. So I want to try that one. And even if you can go up and up, you can put the chips, add the tips, it becomes better.
Okay.
Until you're satisfied, you can make it better one.
Thank you very much. Probably this question was asked already, or probably it was discussed, but I came late, I'm sorry. But I would like to ask about the background of the researcher. If is he a language teacher or more on the technology side? And if so, what are the factors he considered to come up with the product? I mean, mm, with the evaluation. Okay, so yeah.
You mean you asking about me if I'm a teacher or not? Yeah, I'm a teacher. Yes.
About the
Major? Cognitive linguistics, especially cognitive typology. No, cognitive linguistics. Yes.
Any more questions?
I have a background of computer science and psychology and the linguistics and like that.
I think we still have more time for questions. I mean, before we go for coffee break.
You can go to the coffee break, yes.
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay, enough said.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Welcome back to this section, and we have Alfred Lo from the University of Oxford presenting on the educational affordances and challenges of GenAI in global English-oriented materials development and implementation. Let's make welcome Alfred Lo.
So thank you very much and good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to talk about how we can use generative AI in designing global English-oriented materials, development and implementation. So my name is Alfred and I am a doctoral student at the University of Oxford. And I'm also a visiting junior scholar of English language education at the Education University of Hong Kong. So first of all, perhaps we can know more about the background. So perhaps we can take around 10 seconds to take a look at this picture and see if you could spot what is wrong with this. Yes, so although it is written as English as global language, but then as you can see from the background, it is actually using the national flag from the UK. So there is actually a conflict that we are facing in the English language teaching. And if we take a look at the use of English around the world, so English is actually involving only 4% of its speakers being the native speakers. And English is also the only language that with its majority of speakers, that is the so-called non-native speakers being discriminated. And this is actually the emergence of global Englishes because we want to capture the diversity of English, and also we want to ensure the global ownership of English to everybody. So what exactly is global Englishes? So it actually comes from three key ideas. So the first one would be world Englishes, that we categorize English according to regions. For example, Hong Kong English, Japanese English, Japan English and Korean English. And then we also have English as an international language that we see, this is a paradigm for rethinking research and practice in understanding what English really is. And then we also have English as a lingua franca, that is we use English as a way to communicate among different speakers. So, so global English is actually an inclusive paradigm, and it views English as plural. And we also want to focus on the use of English by both L1 and non-L1 speakers. And most importantly is actually the global ownership of English. And it also has some implications for English language teaching. So I might skip this because we don't have time, but okay. But then in the current ELT practice, so the current ELT practice, or the way that we teach English traditionally, is very different from how it is taught outside the classroom. As we know, we have not only British or American English, but then we also have different kinds of English. But when we teach English, so somehow it's still following the native speaker paradigm, or even native speakerism in English language teaching. So perhaps we can also use this picture as an example. So in English language teaching, we are it tends to focus on native speakers who are always linguistically and pedagogically superior to non-native counterparts. But then the actual use of English in our everyday life is that native speakers are just a small minority, and people who are using the English language actually come from diverse lingua cultural backgrounds. So, there have been proposals that we can do something for English language teaching. So today I'm focusing on the latest one, that is Global English Language Teaching, or in short we call it GELT. So it bridges theory and practice. So we want to put the theory of what global English is, world English is, and English as an international language into our teaching practice. And then it encouraged a flexible and continuum-based approach. So we design everything based on the context. So there is no fixed, one-size-fits-all approach, but then it really depends on the context. So how are we going to design our pedagogical practice? So according to Rose and Galloway, so they have proposed 6 key ideas in global Englishes-oriented ELT. So that is, we want to increase world Englishes and English as a lingua franca exposure. We also want to emphasize teachers, students, and even parents their respect for multilingualism. And we also want to raise the awareness of what global Englishes are and also the EFL strategies. So the key here is that we are not trying to teach the students a particular variety of English. For example, we are not trying to teach students how to speak Japanese English, but instead we want to raise the awareness about what English are, but not only a single English. And then we also want to emphasize respect for diverse culture and identity. And most importantly, perhaps it is also very important for us teachers. So we also want to change the teacher hiring practices in the ELT industry. So we want to hire English teachers who are highly qualified, and then they are also well educated, and they're also highly skilled in English, instead of they are just, for example, a passport holder from English speaking countries. So, there has been research that showing that GALT can positively shift students' perceptions towards English varieties. But then there is a significant gap between understanding what global Englishes are and also developing classroom materials. So if we don't have enough classroom materials, it actually creates burden to teachers. And according to some statistical results, it also correlates with the continued dominance of standard English norms. And it will also destroy students' confidence in using the English language. So although there have been frameworks for also developing and designing global English-oriented materials development, but we as teachers know that it is actually very, very basic in our everyday teaching. So we don't really have time to read a lot of very complicated or frameworks in designing our teaching materials. So instead we can see technology as a way to simplify it. So, but when we take a look, when we look at the learning materials, so we can also try to take a look what learning materials really are. So it's actually a plan, it's also a process and a product in our teaching and learning. And if we take a critical ecological perspective, according to Widodo and colleagues in 2022, so language learning is actually an interconnected ecosystem. So we are not just trying to learn the structure, but then we also want to see how it is connected with the environment, with other non-human resources, and also cultures. And then learning materials are shaped by social, cultural, political, and institutional contexts. So although there have been researchers trying to use advanced technology, and also practitioners who are trying to use advanced technology in English language teaching, but then some reviews actually show that traditional and standardized pedagogies often persist. And then if we really want to create some of the inclusive materials for our learners, so it is necessary to critically engage with AI's affordances, that we want to promote linguistic diversity, but not we are trying to keep going with the native speaker norms. So as we might know, so actually AI is, especially generative AI, is built based on some of the large language models, and it might be using some of the British or American English. So somehow we also need to reflect the data behind the use of generative AI. So in this study, I'm trying to look at what are the education affordances and challenges of using Gen AI in designing global English-oriented materials development and implementation. So about this, So the context was actually an offshore campus in the mainland China so it's an offshore campus of a Hong Kong section school in mainland China. So I was asked to design a 1-month English enrichment program for the school, and it involved students from year 8 and 9. So in Hong Kong, it will be Form 2 and Form 3 students. So the teachers involved had academic or personal global English exposure. So they might have encountered different kinds of English varieties, but then they have not received any formal pedagogical training on global Englishes. But then they are also cautious about changing the standard norms about only teaching the British or American English. So I have designed a new global English-oriented program with the teachers together. So, but then when we try to think about innovation in ELT, there are 5 factors that we have to consider, and these are the 2. So we have to think about the compatibility. So that is how compatible it is with the teacher's belief and practice, and also how easy it is to be implemented into the classroom. So, so then I find a very useful pedagogical approach that is also familiar with to all of you, so that will be task-based language teaching. So as we are using AI and also some of the digital tools, so there have been researchers trying to summarize how we can use technology into, so infusing technology into task-based language teaching. So as we can see, this is the ideas that we see from global English language teaching, except the hiring practice. And then as I try to find out the literature about technology-mediated TBLT, so I found these are quite relevant. For example, if we want to enhance our students' global English awareness, so in technology-mediated TBLT, we also have reflective cycles. And then when we think about the authentic use of English, and also in this framework, we want to have a real-world relevance and authenticity in teaching. And for valuing multilingualism, we also need to promote the use of both linguistic and non-linguistic resources, and these are the 2 as well. So why I'm trying to use this framework, because the school is actually using the TBLT approach in the everyday teaching, because they follow the Curriculum Development Council in Hong Kong in the curriculum design. So this is quite compatible with the teachers' everyday teaching. So we're not trying to prompt something new to the teachers, but instead we are trying to just put increasing some of the new ideas into their teaching. And then as we know in TBLT, we will have some awareness raising activities, and these are AI mediated. And then after that, they will have to create a main task. So that is, they have to create a digital multimodal composing poster introducing one English variety. So the GenAI used in this study will be 2 main tools. The first one will be speech synthesis. So basically that's the text-to-speech technology, and also ChatGPT as an AI chatbot. So how I use the text-to-speech technology. So it is used to create listening activities. So so together with the teachers, we decided, so we have selected English varieties based on Catru's 3 concentric circles. So we want to address GE awareness by exposing students to a wide range of accents. And then these are, so after creating all the audios, we put it into an app called Plickus. So teachers can use it into the classroom. So how we're going to do that? So first of all, we have written the script together. So teachers might be running it independently or collaboratively, and then they will select a platform. So if you are interested in, to the different platforms, you can refer to the paper. There have been some links provided. And then we will ask GenAI to generate some audios for us, and then we will use it into the classroom. And then for ChatGPT, we use it for creating reading passages. So we have first of all select some of the different English words from the Oxford English Dictionary. So for example, Ama from Singaporean English, Hanbok from Korean English, etc. And then teachers will also find the terms and definition to ensure that this is accurate. So first of all, the teachers will select the words from the global Englishes, from the global Englishes, and they will also select the generative AI platform, for example, ChatGPT, and then they would put it into a Gen AI model, for example, so for example, ChatGPT, and then they will also input the prompt with the words together into this model. So it will create an output. So if it is satisfied, then of course we can use it directly into our classroom. But if it is not satisfied, then the teachers can input the definitions of these English words, English's word into the prompt again to make sure that the definitions are accurate. So, so again, there will be another outcome. So if teachers are satisfied, then will be completion. If not, they might do, so they can do again with another prompt, or instead they might do adaptation by themselves. And again, it will lead to completion again. So how collect the data? So first of all, teachers and I co-plan the lessons together. And then after each teaching, so after each classroom teaching, so teachers will have to write the reflective journal. And then there were also some classes observed and video recorded. And after all the teachings, we had the post-teaching conference together in our co-planning lessons. So the teachers and I had the roundtable discussions together, and then also afterwards I had conducted some video stimulated recourse interviews with the teachers on their observed classes. So for reflective journals, I conducted qualitative content analysis. And for the classroom observation, that is the recorded classroom. So I adopted interpretative phenomenological analysis. So that is a methodological approach that explores lived experience and sense making. So as you can see later in the data, so there will be one column that is the video. Another one will be the conversation between me and the teacher. Another one will be so the teacher's perspective, and the last one will be my perspective. So the data is not only interpreted by the participants, but also me as researcher into this data analysis. So what are the results? So for the affordances, so teachers also believe that it has enhanced efficiency in materials development because they think it can create faster production of diverse English varieties, and they can also create materials without human speakers. And then they also think that this is kind of a shift from textbook reliance and teacher-centered teaching to student-centered interaction, because they think they are the content creators. So I find this sharing from the teachers very, very insightful. So this teacher mentioned that students can interact with synthesized dialogues that require them to listen carefully before responding. We did not rely on textbooks or any preset learning materials in the teaching and learning process. Instead, students needed to listen, read, write, and speak during the discussions of global Englishes. I love this way of teaching the language as it is more authentic and communicative, because the way that listening was taught in the classroom was mainly playing audio clips into their everyday teaching. But instead we try to so in this way we are trying to use AI generated learning materials, and also it is using different kinds of accents. So students were very, very interested in how AI could be able to do that, and also different varieties of English that also capture their attention into. So it has become a very, very interactive learning process into the classroom. So in the classroom. So GenAI can also combine with other digital tools, for example, the English dictionary and also Playkis, and also prompt critical thinking, as we have just mentioned from the quote. And this is the IPA analysis. So this is the classroom observation, and then this is the interaction, the dialogue between me and the teacher, and also this is the teacher's perspective, and this is my perspective. So teachers believe that it has boosted students' participation. It has shifted a passive listening to active and critical discussion. So first of all, students felt very confused because they were not sure what kind of English it is, and also they were quite puzzled by the use of AI. So they were not quite sure whether they are so the audios were human speakers or AI speakers. But then it turns out to be curiosity and also awareness of English diversity. So it has created opportunities for deeper the understanding of global Englishes and also Gen AI limitations, because they can also recognize some. So AI cannot create some so quite accurate English. So some a particular English variety. So what are some challenges? So teachers believe that because they are working with inflexible curricula and also tight schedules, so they recognize the potential of AI and also global Englishes, but then struggle with curriculum demands. But then they also propose some of the solutions. For example, Lucy mentioned that we can start from small and into extracurricular projects like what we did in this in this study. And then AI also somehow failed to capture nuanced meaning of newer English varieties. For example, we have selected words from like ama, handbook. Might be the generative AI have not learned these words yet, so it might fail to capture the nuanced meaning. So it has mentioned. So it has showed that database also has its limitation because it is lacking updates for evolving GE lexicons. So teachers have to adapt it by themselves. And then, so there were also some technical issues, disrupted the lessons and reduced time for G discussions. And because it was used in China and also so in mainland China. So there were also some geographical restrictions on using some particular AI tools, for example, ChatGPT. So, and teachers also mentioned that it is the human touch is still very important in teaching global English-oriented ELT because teachers process their own cultural and experiential teaching. For example, they might travel to another country and they had their own travel experience and those experiences can be shared with the students in the classroom. And this is something that AI could not replace. So teachers' lived experience are crucial for fostering authentic appreciation of global Englishes. So what are some of the some of the insights that we can learn from this? So we can see that GenAI can reduce reliance on traditional materials developers that might be only the publishers. But now teachers can also be the publishers and also create the materials by themselves. So that's why we can see that AI can support adaptive content sensitive material development that can help with not only into the classroom teaching, but also teacher education and professional development, which were still limited in the literature. But then what are some challenges? So again, GenAI sometimes represents new English varieties, and it might also risk of promoting structural inequality because we know that AI might generate some of the structure and standardized output. So that might also varies from the idea of global English that captures multilingualism and multiculturalism. So teachers mentioned that human touch is still essential for contextualizing language and culture, especially in teaching the English language. So although critical ecological perspective only center on the about GE awareness and also the critical awareness about culture and language, but then I think it is also important to have the critical evaluations of the AI outputs because we want to make it to make it a more sustainable GE-oriented pedagogy. So what are some of the quick summaries? So there were three contributions to the field. And these are also the 5 factors that we need to consider when conducting ELT innovations or innovation in general. So we have to think about the relative advantage. So what kind of benefits we can bring to the teachers, to the parents, to the students. And then we need to think about the complexity, how easy or how difficult it is to be implemented into the policy, into our teaching. So this is also the first study to examine AI use in GE materials development and classroom implementation. And then we also need to think about the triability. So in this study, we have demonstrated how teacher and researcher could work together in real classrooms. So as we can see our work together with the teacher. So this is the triability that we can do together. And then for the observability, so as this is the first study that applied the IPA approach into data analysis, because in the GE literature, usually they will only mention about the pre-post test or even some of the reflective journals. So there has been a lacking of the use of how the actual classroom interactions are. So this is also very important in innovation because we want to see how observable it is in doing this in the future. So using IP will be very insightful for researchers and practitioners. And the last one will be the compatibility. So I have adopted the technology mediated TBLT with the GALT framework. So it is compatible with the teacher's everyday teaching. So some of the implication that we can take from the teacher's insights. So although we know that Englishes are important, but then we should actually start it earlier into compulsory education, perhaps from primary and secondary school, because students might they might pursue a higher education, for example, in English medium instruction, or even if they just go to work directly, they will be working in international workplace, and they will encounter people with different English accents, with different Englishes. So it is important to raise the awareness before they enter higher education and also workplace. And so teachers also struggle with adapting AI and GALT under this rigid curricula and exam pressures. So Wang and colleagues also mentioned that teachers, especially in China, will they are actually sandwich teachers because they want to do something new, but then they are also facing some of the struggles because of the rigid curricula and also exam pressures. So some of the support are needed. Support is needed. So for example, we need to think about the policy that we want to work together with the teachers, researchers, and technology experts to make it more easy. And for the schools, so schools should also support teachers into doing this kind of innovation. And teachers actually need safe spaces to do this innovation without the fear of judgment. So some of the conclusions, so as we can see, so AI can support this kind of development and implementation, and it is also content sensitive. But then but the AI can also enhance authentic learning materials, but cannot replace the human depth and cultural insights that language teachers uniquely provide. And here are some limitations for this study. So you could refer if you're interested. So this is the study that has been published in this paper in this journal. So you could refer to it. And yes, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Alfred, for that informative presentation. We now open it for questions and comments.
And thank you so much. It's a wonderful presentation. I can see like there's a lot of things that's been done. A lot of theories incorporated, a lot of evidence has been taken a look at. And also congratulations on the system publication. So my question is, the first thing is like, I'm not an expert in GAL, but I would like to seek your opinion about like some definition differences, like word English as a lingua franca, and also like the term you have been introduced here, that's like global English. Like, what are the differences between this? And my second question is like, in your theoretical introduction, I've seen like the eco-linguistic part introduced. I'm particularly interested in like how the eco part has been like say incorporated in the design and also like reviewed in your like say final findings, interpretations. I think I can read the paper, but I would like to seek more of your opinion on that. And yeah, my third question is like, what is the differences between say DDL, like data-driven learning, and like the way your design here is like because all of them like say simply emphasize like the authentic language use. So I would like to seek your opinion on that. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you very much for your question. So about the use of terms, so global English is actually being used as an umbrella term that captures all the ideas. But then it also depends on the researcher's opinion, because some researchers might also think that they might. So it's better to separate them into world Englishes or ELF or even English as an international language into the research. But then for this paper, I adopt global English as an umbrella term that capture all these ideas. So that's, and because I'm adopting the global English language teaching framework, so it is used as an umbrella term. And then for the critical ecological perspective, it's actually based on a paper by Bridodo and colleagues. So they use this perspective into designing learning materials. So they want to challenge, so for the critical part, it will be challenging the native speaker norms and also valuing the multilingualism. And for the ecological perspective, so they want to emphasize, so for learning materials, we are not just trying to teach the grammar part, the vocabulary part, but then we also want to engage the students with the environment, for example, the socio-cultural reality of English. So not only English, but Englishes. So this is the ecological part that we have to capture about the environment, about the people, about the actual use of the language. Yeah. And then for the last question, because this is also my first study trying the AI, so trying with technology, so I'm not really an expert in this area. So yeah, so I'm really sorry I can't answer.
Okay, another question? We have.
Thank you. So thank you very much. Wonderful study. My question is about the data curation. You mentioned that you started from, or your point of departure was the word list, the World English's word list of Oxford. Yes, the Oxford Dictionary. So that was lexicon. Did you also take a look into pronunciation? Because one of the biggest difficulties that we have regards pronunciation, because whenever we're working with World Englishes, for example, it might be a little bit stereotypical. So have you taken a look into that as well?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, so there were two uses of GenAI in this study. So first one would be the vocabulary list that you have mentioned. That would be about the reading materials, and then for another one that it will be the listening activities. So we have considered the pronunciation of different English accents, and that were also generated by GenAI. So for now, GenAI also has the affordances to create different English accents, but then some of the English accents were not quite accurate, as pointed out by the students, as they could also recognize it, and it has made a very very fantastic discussion into the classroom. Yeah, so that would be another part, but the vocabulary will be for the reading, and then the accent will be for the listening. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I don't think we have time for another question. So we'll move to room 209 for the keynote speech. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the afternoon section. It's a pleasure to have you here. And I just want to make a remark before we start that the second section is canceled. You know, we should have 3 sections, but the second one is canceled. So we have this moment presentation by Leung, Chen, Jiwei, and Wang on empowering language competence and professional communication through an AI-based language laboratory. Let's make welcome to the presenters.
Testing. Okay, hi everybody. My name is Thomas. My colleague Dr. Wei and I are from Hong Kong Xi'an University. So in this presentation, we are going to talk about a project funded by the Education Bureau. And this project, as you can see from this presentation title here, is about building an AI platform to help students improve their language competence and their professional communication. So before we talk about the project, let's take a quick look at the presentation outline here. So in our presentation, there are altogether 5 parts. I will first talk about the project objectives and background, and then Dr. Wei will talk about our chatbot designs and features, and then we will demonstrate 2 chatbots that we have been developing with our professional technical team, Mobot. And finally, Dr. Wei will end our presentation by talking about the future directions for the project. So our project is supported by a group of scholars from different departments at Xi'an University, including the Chinese and English language centers. So as you know, since ChatGPT was introduced by OpenAI in 2022, a very hot debate has been going on about the use of AI in education, especially in higher education. So for example, some tend to see AI as a threat to academic integrity, and some see AI as an aid to teaching and learning. And also some tend to take a less extreme position regarding AI as a double-edged sword that must be used properly to maximize its benefits and minimize its drawbacks. So here you can see that different people have different views on the use of AI. Some are very positive about the use of AI, some are very negative, and some tend to have a cautious attitude towards it. So now you may wonder what stance language teachers should take on the use of AI. So we think that as language educators, we should take a rather less extreme position by encouraging our students to embrace AI, while at the same time teaching them how to use AI properly and most importantly, critically. So with this in mind, we look at what AI resources could be used to support language learning. And we found that there are quite a lot of AI resources available online. And after finding these resources, we asked our students whether they had ever used any of them. And we got some interesting responses from our students. So for example, some said to us that they had ever used some of them. And whilst many of them said to us that they didn't know the resources at all. And this was very surprising for us. And another thing that we observed is that even though there are many different AI resources that we can use for language learning, there is a lack of a platform to centralize the AI resources, especially within the context of Hong Kong, where access to ChatGPT is limited without VPN. So we started to think about whether we needed to do something to help our students have more exposure to different AI resources. So for this reason, we set up a team to establish a hub, an AI hub for language learning for our students. And we call this hub AI-based language laboratory. So as you can see in the slide here, the objectives of the lab are fourfold. So the first objective is to equip our students with AI tools suitable for language learning, especially academic writing. And the second objective is to source and develop AI tools that are free of charge, especially with few usage limitations, such as the use of VPN. And the third objective is to promote AI equality. And the last one here is to guide our students to make better use of AI tools. So the lab that I've just talked about is actually part of our 2-year project funded by the Quality Enhancement Support Scheme from the Education Bureau. And we got around $2 million to run the project. And throughout the project, we are going to do 2 major things. So one is something that I mentioned earlier, which is to develop an AI hub for language, for AI resources to support language learning. And the second thing that we are going to do is to develop adaptive learning assistants to facilitate genre-based writing for our service Chinese and English courses. And these assistants are actually the chatbots that we have been developing with our professional team, Mobat. So through the chatbots, we would like to achieve 3 major objectives, as you can see here. So the first objective is to foster self-directed learning by encouraging our students to engage more independently with their writing. Say, for example, from planning to drafting, and from drafting to revising the whole writing process. And the second objective is to provide personalized feedback. And we believe that this type of feedback is very, very important for our students, because through this feedback, students can understand better the strengths and weaknesses of their writing. And the third objective is to help our students reduce their writing anxiety by offering an environment where they can experiment with their own ideas, revise their drafts, and also receive constructive guidance at their own pace. So these are the objectives that we want to achieve through our chatbots. So now Dr. Wei will tell you more about our chatbot designs and features.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Wei Yang from Hong Kong University, and I will give you a brief introduction for the chatbots, design and the features for writing. So in this table shows the chatbots we have developed, and also we will develop in the following 1.5 years. On the left side, these are the English chatbots. You can see they include expository writing and argumentative writing, academic research writing, and also one chatbot for citation and referencing. For these chatbots, we both have guided writing and also comment and feedback. On the right side, these are the Chinese chatbots. We have practical writing, especially for invitation letter and job letters. And we will also develop these chatbots for rhetoric, sentence errors, and Europeanized syntax, and also for grammar, classical Chinese, Cantonese Mandarin comparison, and also reference list citation creation assistant. And regarding to our chatbot design, our project collaborates with the Han-Inc Innovation Limited, and this company, they have successfully developed several AI-based for example, like Mobe, which is a Chinese writing wizard for secondary schools. And they also have developed Arya. This is the Chinese language portal for Chinese University of Hong Kong. And for our project, our chatbots are the prototypes of our chatbots are based on chip AI, and the final adaptive learning assistants will be powered by Microsoft Azure AI. And for our students and staff, they want to access to these chatbots, and we will integrate the chatbots into our university-wide learning platform, which is Moodle for SYU. And we also have our experts from Han-Inc, Rex, and if you have any questions later and regarding to any technological issues, you can consult him. And these are the features for writing. For the guided writing modules, we have a step-by-step process aligning with course content and materials. And we have assistance with brainstorming ideas and advice on content, structure, and language. And also we have simulation of human-like discussions with personalized responses and sample question prompts for a user to communicate effectively with chatbot. We will show all these features in our live demonstration stage. And the guided writing modules are integral to the chatbot's functionality, offering the first one is targeted comments and feedback on students' writing. And the second one is actionable suggestions for addressing enhancement issues. The third one is concrete examples for revising content and language, but no direct reference. For example, if our students ask the chatbots to please write something for me, and our chatbots will refuse and instead to give some suggestions. And the third one is the concrete examples for revising content and language. The first one is access to training exercises for grammar and usage errors. And the last one is encouragement of self-directed feedback. Now we will give a very quick live demonstration of one of our English chatbots and one of our Chinese Chinese chatbots.
So now I'm going to show you one of the chatbots that we have been working on with our professional technical team here. And this chatbot is called Guided Exploratory Writing Chatbot. And obviously this chatbot is used to help students write exploratory essays. So we developed this chatbot because exploratory writing is one of the writing assessments, assignments that our students need to do in their service English course. Well, let's say, imagine that you need to write an exploratory essay, and the essay theme is social media and communication. So when you write your essay, you can actually use this chatbot to help you. So now you can enter a prompt at the end of the chat box here. So you could say something like this. So you could say, I need to write an exploratory essay, and can you guide me through? That's the prompt, and then you press enter. So now if you look at the output here, so especially focus on the question at the end of the output. So you can see the chatbot gives you, asks you to think of a specific issue to work on in your essay. Okay, well, let's say you do not have a specific issue or question to talk about in your mind right now. Okay, you can just enter another prompt. So you could say something like this, I'm not quite sure, but I think I would like to talk about something which is connecting social media and communication. That is the essay theme. Okay, and then you press enter. So now if you look at the output here, so the chatbot is trying to help the students narrow down the topic. Not the answers, just try to narrow down the topic. And you can also see an example is given to help the students narrow down the topic. Okay. Well, let's say after reading the example, you think that you have something something specific to discuss. Okay. So you can type in another prompt here. Well, you could say, how about how social media can lead to misunderstandings while communicating something? This is something that you want to discuss in your essay, and then you press enter. So now if you look at the output here, you can see general feedback, and the feedback is quite positive, right? Excellent choice. That's a clear and focused topic. And you can also see the chatbot suggests an outline for the introduction of your exploratory essay with 3 parts to include: the hook, background, information, and thesis statement, right? And if you look at the question at the bottom of the chatbot, you can also see the chatbot is trying to guide the students, guide you through the first part of your introduction, how to write a hook. Okay, so let's say you do not know how to write a hook, and you can just enter another prompt here. So can you give me some ideas on how you can do it? Can you write me a paragraph? So now what is amazing here, you can see the chatbot is not giving you the answers. No direct answers at all, okay? With only suggestions here. If you look at the 3 bullet points, these are the suggestions from the chatbot, okay? So this is one of the most important functions of this chatbot, because we wanted to include this function because we don't want our students to rely too much on AI to do their assignments, okay? Well, at least they have to, I think we need to let students know that they should take responsibility, full responsibility for their own learning. They need to write themselves on their own. Well, let's say if you look at the, after reading the suggestions, you still do not know how, what to do, how to write a hook. You want the chatbot to give you an example. You can enter another prompt here. How about an example paragraph? Okay, a paragraph about the hook. And then you press enter. Again, you can see no answers, but with only suggestions, So this means that you and students have to think how to write and what to write based on the suggestions given, okay? Well, let's say you think the suggestions are okay, and you have something you want to talk about as your hook. You can enter another prompt here. Okay, let's talk about statistics. The first something that you want to discuss. Maybe start by stating the percentage of people using social media. And then you can see feedback, general feedback from the chatbot. And usually the chatbot can give you some only very general feedback on your responses. But the suggestions are quite specific. If you look at the suggestion here. Well, let's imagine that you still do not know how to write a hook. After reading the suggestions given by the chatbot, you can enter another prompt. So can you tell me, I can't think of anything else. Again, no answers. But here you can see the chatbot is, because the chatbot knows you have difficulty writing your hook. So the chatbot is trying to give you some extra help by providing more input to consider, okay? And you look at the 3 bullet points are the extra input from the chatbot, and the input is quite specific. And I believe that by using the input here, students should be able to produce something. Well, let's say you think these suggestions, this extra input is useful, and you think you know how to write a hook. Okay, you want to move on to the second part of your introduction. So you can enter another hook here. I'm sorry, another prompt here. So, okay, my hook is done. Move on to the next part, the second part of your introduction. So here you can see the chatbot is trying to guide you through the second part, okay, with suggestions given as well. The 2 bullet points here. Okay. Well, let's say you have something to talk about as your background, the background of your essay. You can type in your prompt here. Maybe start with the reasons why there are misunderstandings. That is something that you want to talk about in your background paragraph of your essay. And then you can see a similar response pattern here with feedback, positive feedback, and suggestions. Okay. So now you can write your background paragraph. Well, let's say you have finished your background paragraph, and you can enter your paragraph here. So the chatbot knows that you are able to write a background paragraph using the suggestion given. So now you can see the chatbot is trying to guide you through the third part of your introduction. That is the thesis statement. Okay, so these are the things that students will go through when they are using this chatbot. So what about the Chinese chatbot that we are going to show you now?
Now I'm going to demonstrate how one of our Chinese chatbots works. For this one, because in our in the first year Chinese course, we have a writing task, which is we ask students to write an invitation letter. This chatbot is for this task, and this is the page of our invitation letter chatbots. And first one, you can type in that 我要写一封信给杏坛大学校长陆毅人，邀请他出席香港创知大学60周年校庆的校庆晚宴。So I need to have write an invitation letter to the principal of one of the university and blah blah. And so for the answers by our chatbot, and it shows 你的我是乌比你的专属中文老师，根据邀请函简报所述we have a PowerPoint content course material for our students, and 邀请函是一种重要且正式的文书 让我们一步步完成这封邀请函。首先我们要了解一些基本资料。The first one is the date of this校庆晚宴。第二是你在香港创知大学还担任什么职位？第三是晚宴有没有特别的主题或环节？我们的回答是创知大学60周年校庆邀请函。那么现在呢，就到了我们的这个 chatbot 的回应会记录作业的进度很好，让我记录你的进度标题是这个什么？那么接下来呢，我们来处理称谓的部分。那请你尝试写出称谓部分。这里有3个提示，第一个是需要包含收信人的职称和姓名，第二是记得在称谓后加上冒号第三是这个格式应为职称姓名加上敬词。那特别是这个敬词的部分，尤其是在香港有生活工作的大家知道我们在香港这一点是非常重视的，所以呢我们就回答是杏坛大学陆校长道歉那这里呢他就提示说对于这样正式的这个这样的正式的一个邀请函呢，我们希望把校长的全名都写上，所以呢可以修改为他的建议就是可以修改为杏坛大学陆毅仁校长道歉。那接下来呢，到了这个正文的部分，他就提示说这个。邀请函的用语要文雅客气热情，表达参加时可以用光临、莅临等较为庄重的词语。那么正文部分他就给学生提示要有以下的要素：说明邀请的原因、活动的具体内容、时间、地点、其他相关安排等。那么在写正文之前你要告诉我这些信息。所以呢，我们可以回复说日期是什么时候，在哪里。好，那么这样之后呢，我们可以看到，那接下来他会说好，我们的进度呢到了这里了。那么也可以看我们一会儿的回复大家能够看到说，我们的 chatbot 也不会直接帮学生写一封邀请函。他会告诉学生说我们的这一个正文的部分应该怎么样写。那好，我们的好，那我们回到这里回复了日期以后。好，大家可以看到，因为我们重新进入，所以他马上回复说其实你还没有给我们前面的这个校长的信息我们还需要这些信息。大家可以看到这里的回复和刚才前面我们的提问是一样的。这些都是基于我们的这个大一国文的课程给学生的简报的内容还有我们的教科参考书里面的这些关于写邀请函的一些指引。那比如说我们可以说如何使用，他会说因为是一封正式的邀请函，所以呢应该使用庄重和正式的用词来表达。那但是可能学生还不太了解，所以我们可以提问说怎么来使用呢？那比如说他就会有这些称呼对方的时候可以说用贵校来代替你们学校，用阁下呢用于尊称对方，那校长先生比校长更显尊重以及后面的部分比如说用莅临或者是光临来代替来或者是参加拨冗呢来代替抽空这样的，以及最后承蒙还代替谢谢等等。那我们那最后呢，我们写到最后以后，他会说需要这个落款的部分那这个落款的部分是创知大学校庆筹备委员会主任黄之妍女士。那么这个部分呢，我们可以看到，他说他提示我们要 写出正文的这个第一段哈。好，那么这里呢哈，我们这是我们尝试哈，这是我们写这个回复以后呢它就会有这个 comment 和 feedback。comment 就是说这些用词是非常的正式的。那我们的另外呢，他就说现在了到这个写第二段的部分了，还是要保持庄重的语气。那我们说，因为我们已经发出了正式的邀请，我们希望得到对方校长的回复是否来参加，所以我们的我们写这样一段随函奉上什么什么以便这个妥善筹备。那目前的进度就可以看到标题是什么，称谓是什么，以及正文的第一段还有呢正文的第二段是什么。Yeah. Okay, so these were the two demonstrations of our two chatbots, and our future directions is to mainly for the software refinement. First one is expansion of genre-specific support, and the second one is fine tuning of feedback algorithms, and the third one is integration of user feedback. We have digital competency and AI needs survey, and we will also have internal testing. So this contact information for external collaboration, you can contact our Dr. Grace Leung and also Dr. Kevin Chen for the future directions and also of the development of our QESS project. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. That was a wonderful, fantastic presentation. And we just stayed longer than time because the next section is canceled. So now we are open for questions and comments. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Please feel free to scan these two QR codes to access our big database. We have right now over 300 AI tools. Some of them are developed by ourselves. Some of them are outsourcing from others platform. Most of them are free. No VPN is needed. Because due to the time limit today, we can only show you two. But actually, we have a lot more over there. Thank you.
Thank you. So the floor is open for questions and comments. So I actually have one. Yeah, so I was thinking, the prompt on the expository essay, I was thinking about how the students' patience in going through the expository essay, knowing that the conventional AI could provide the answer immediately without them going through the guided process. So what do you think? Would students be patient enough to go through the guided process of I can't provide, and gives you an option? What do you think about student patience and resilience in following the guided process?
English chatbot, right?
The English chatbot, yeah.
Well, of course, because one of the strengths of the chatbots that I will show you is not to provide answers, which is also one of the weaknesses, because sometimes, as you said, students are less patient. So because they cannot get the answers, they may try to use other AI tools like ChatGPT or Copilot. But I think what I would do before we let students use the chatbot that we have developed is to teach them the importance of learning, which is very important. We have to, as I said, we have to let students know that they have to take full responsibility for their own learning. If they want to learn, they have to, well, let's say if they want to improve their writing, academic writing, they have to take initiatives to write on their own. not relying too much on on the use of AI. Okay, because sometimes even though AI can actually give you everything, answers, sometimes the answers may not be accurate enough, or sometimes the content generated by AI is not logical. Yeah.
Thank you. And for those joining us, the second section is cancelled. Yeah, please. I'm sorry about that. So wait for the third section. Yeah. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the section. And this afternoon, Judge MacLean from the University of the Rutgers will be addressing us on adapting writing instruction for EFL learners, process-oriented approaches in the age of AI. Let's make welcome Judge MacLean.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the organizers of this conference. It's been very informative, and I've enjoyed it a lot. My university is a little bit hard to pronounce. Ryukyus, that's in Okinawa, used to be a kingdom before it became part of Japan. Anyways, I have to offer you my apologies. Norman, who was the driving force behind a lot of this study, suddenly was not able to attend. So you have me. And I'll do what I can to fill in. There are some spots where Norman was really very much the driving force, and Mayo University. Without further ado then, somebody's been playing, I think. Norman's been playing with AI, as you can tell. Sorry, could I get some sense of how many of you are language teachers? Okay, so yeah, close to half, a third to maybe half of you. Teaching writing, I think you don't necessarily have to be a language teacher to be teaching students how to write. Giving our contexts, I'm teaching mostly first, second, third year university students, where writing's concerned, mostly their second year students, first and second year students. They'd be at about a B2, SEFR B2 proficiency level. So it's kind of low. One of the things Rodney Jones spoke about today that really resounded with me is that when you're teaching writing, you're teaching many things. Of course, there's the surface level grammar, but rhetoric, reflective learning, self-driven, autonomous learning, critical thinking. So there's many components to it. Norman is also working with graduate students and students who are preparing their graduate thesis. So he's seen a lot more than I have of recent pieces of writing that are perfect. You know, they're better than I could write, or better than he could write, he said. And where are those coming from? That's where AI is being abused, right? And I think we've all seen some of that. This doesn't seem to be working. So it's, I guess, time to start rethinking what we're doing. And these are perhaps some of the elements of it. The AI tool is not going to disappear. There are people that would like to think it would, and they've been maybe requiring their students to submit handwritten drafts before doing anything digitally, or maybe not even using digital stuff at all. But I mean, it is, if they're out of your sight, I don't think that's going to stop them one way or another. But yeah, tools like ChatGPT, Grammarly, but it goes way back, right? I mean, there in the day, smarter students made a really good living writing essays and whatnot for more challenged students or students that didn't feel like doing it themselves. So that really is not anything new. It's just more pervasive, I guess you could say. And so our challenge is, yeah, it's kind of hard. I get a bit skeptical when I see something that looks too good. I'd like to give my students the benefit of the doubt, but in this day and age, it's kind of hard to do. So I'll be talking about some measures that you can put in place that help to mitigate that. Yeah, I think in our pedagogy, we need to incorporate some of these developments. It's been, I guess, yeah, it's been quite a run for about 15 years now with cloud computing coming in and having students work in the cloud, submitting things in cloud. My big area is feedback. I think that's really important. And then peer-based learning as well, like peer evaluation, that sort of thing. And particularly with writing, that's been a kind of delayed process for a long time, especially if students are doing things by hand. They hand it in, you take it to your office. If you're meeting once a week and you're really good at turnaround, that's still a week before they get to see anything. And you can mark it up all you want. The question is, without any sort of reflective learning protocols in place, do they look at it? Do they learn from it? So with ChatGPT, I think we have some new alternatives. Okay, so of course, foundations of process writing. It's an iterative process where students are preparing drafts. They're hopefully getting feedback. They're revising. That's a good place for incorporating peer evaluation, and also ChatGPT, I think, or GAI, as I prefer to say, because there's multiple versions, flavors. So our objectives in this study were to explore process-oriented approaches and to get around that. I don't know if plagiarism is the right term anymore. It's really what it is it's uncited behavior where they're just not citing where they got their information, where they got their assistance. And then also an objective to enhance critical thinking and engagement in L2 writing. So yeah, the basis of process writing, of course, emphasizing drafting, revising, reflecting. Yeah, prioritizing like scaffolding and building in some cultural sensitivity there. And what I would call that really is rhetoric. I think that's a big part of what I teach, more than any particular bit of writing or grammar. It's that whole rhetorical structure and how you go about, one goes about expressing oneself. Yeah, there's all sorts of emerging scholarship coming up about this, about the value of a process-oriented endeavor as opposed to just focusing on particular grammar points. So our context, often enough, I'm teaching a 4 skills type course where writing is part of it. 60 plus students in a class, mixed proficiency. So mixed methods are called for over the course of a semester. One of the tools that I like to use, I operate, as I mentioned earlier, cloud has been another innovation that, at least for me, I've been using it for, yeah, over 10 years, I guess. I'm a Google administrator in my university, and I ask all my students to do everything inside of the Google Workspace, which has applications comparable to, of course, Word, document, spreadsheet, it's called Sheets as opposed to Excel, and for presentations. Inside all of these, DraftBack exists. I find it's most useful in documents, but it can be used with spreadsheets as well. and I'm not altogether sure about the presentation software or application. Does anybody use Draftback? Has anybody heard of it? No? Okay, you really need to see this. If you're using Google Docs. Now, the thing is, I've had students who they'll prepare something in Word, and then they realize, oh yeah, that's right, Sensei wants everything done in Google Docs, so they'll just paste it in. And I look at it, and I know it's their work. It looks authentic, which means there's multiple mistakes usually. And then there's other students who, yeah, again, they just paste it in and it looks perfect. And I can tell because with Draftback, I think this is where we're demonstrating Draftback. Okay, Draftback basically will track that, and I'll show you in a second. So in the process of delivering feedback, I do hope that there's some reflection about whatever sort of feedback they've gotten. And that's working towards critical thinking, developing critical thinking, being able to react to a message and change perhaps what they're doing. And then I've been kind of looking with the Draftback at the type of edits that they do and the time that they're spending on that. And as I said, with with slight apologies, some of this is what Norman had to say or was supposed to be saying right now. I wish he was here. So, okay, let's demonstrate the Draftback shortly. This is basically the explanation I've given you. I think in the final analysis, okay, well, let's just look at Draftback to begin with. So Draftback is an application that you download from the Google Store. It works best if you're using Chrome. I asked students to use the Chrome browser because it's an application that works in a browser. It can be used in other browsers, but as I think we all know, the large tech players don't always play nicely together. And so things don't always work seamlessly. But generally, I think this works. Oops, pardon me, I'm going the wrong way. Let's have a look at Draftback. See if I can freeze this up. Sorry, a moment. I can't seem to freeze this here, but if you look at the top, it will track the number of revisions by the keystroke. So if you're looking at even just a paragraph, you should, depending on the level of your students, but certainly with my students, I expect to see hundreds of keystrokes at least. And you can see that. So as I was saying earlier, if you have someone that's just pasting something in that they got in ChatGPT or perhaps something they wrote on their own in Word, but sometimes it happens that people take the easy way out. And here you'd have a number like 1 revision or 2 revisions or 50. And if you're seeing that, then likely you're seeing an example of somebody submitting something that isn't really truly their work. And you can actually, if you want to check, you can play it at accelerated speed or real time even. You can watch how they wrote it. So it's quite informative. And free. So yeah, the critical thinking side of things. Get students thinking about that process. Revisions, multiple revisions. It's not the final product. It's so much important as that process. And I think, yeah, once again, Rodney Jones spoke far more articulately about that than I can. But trying to get to a point where students realize that AI is the tool, and they are the driver of the creative process. And part of that is just, yeah, developing their confidence, because a lot of my students, at least, are not confident about their writing, and they don't enjoy it necessarily. So with that in mind, one of the things I've tried to instill in them is like just to get in there and to do it, to write as quickly as you can, as much as you can. And I've been doing this for many years now. I'm a native of Montreal, Canada, has one of the largest comedy festivals in the world, Just for Laughs. Maybe you know it. And Just for Laughs is, there's no words, right? It's just, it's acted out. So there's no problem with the level of comprehension. And the start of each class, people kind of coming, oh no, writing, not terribly happy about being in a writing class. And so we start with a few laughs, watch maybe 2 or 3 skits, and then they have to describe one of those skits, write as much as they can to describe it in 10 minutes. And so taking that and then going through a process of revising it, editing it, maybe getting some peer feedback, working together, has what I've been doing. I've been doing that for quite some time. And toward the end of last semester, yeah, I started to notice really writing that was just too good. It was just impossible. Not many, but a few students doing that. And I thought, okay, well, let's explore this. Let's open the can of worms. And we've had some meta discussions about using AI. And then what I'm having them do from next semester, I've trialed it so far, is with a paragraph of writing, plugging it in to AI with a prompt that says, please give me 5 tips in my native language about stuff I'm doing wrong. And it seems to work quite well. And it does, you know, at least, yeah, I would say at this point in time, I don't have any solid numbers yet, but I do believe it is helping them, their confidence level. This is all Norman. So with my apologies, it's something I hope to get to next semester when I'm teaching the appropriate courses. But he's been doing not only with writing, but also more multimedia, planning a podcast, for example. And I think, yeah, the next few slides, I'm not really very well qualified to give you many answers about them, but let's try to get through them. I think I'm out of range. Excuse me. How did I do that? Where's the battery? Okay. Has anybody heard of Notebook LM? Yes. Yeah, very powerful it sounds. I haven't used it yet. Norman is using it extensively. And so I think he's laid out kind of the process where basically you have to do the research to get sources or identify sources you want to use for any given topic. Once you have those sources, you can ask Google LM to kind of synthesize and summarize them. And I guess this is a writing sample that I'm not sure if it was one of his students or whether he did it, about American culture, something I know very little about because I'm from Canada. In any event, numerous themes within that. Submitted to Notebook. And it creates a podcast. I don't know if I can play this or not. Yes, I can. I don't think I'll play the whole thing, though. Okay, again, going back to the keynote today, I think here's an example of, at least in my case, and I suspect that quite a few of you are in similar circumstances. Some of the people I've talked to today definitely are. So for my students, that podcast would be like right over their head. Yeah, and so it's a good example of how maybe tweaking where, yeah, well, you have to tell AI what to do. I think Rodney Jones used the example of drawing a picture was one. A couple of examples of how you have to interact with AI to get it to do what you want it to do, and that's I think quite challenging unto itself. So that's something I would do with this, but the aspect that got me really excited about this when Norman told me about this is that you can actually go to interactive mode where, so a student creates a podcast, tweaks it so that it's about at their level, and then turns it into interactive mode where they get welcome onto the show and they're incorporated into the full podcast. And that sounds something like this, I guess. Okay, I'll play this for you. So I guess that's an example of she would be a student asking a question on the podcast and getting an answer based on that, and maybe having the podcast ask the hosts ask her a question as well. Alas. So yeah, there's I think many advantages to using AI. It can keep your students honest if you use it properly with them. I think, yeah, something that's missing here is talking about like citation behavior, teaching students to how to incorporate a citation, a direct citation, indirect citation, references, and then going to the source, which is a critical thinking sort of thing, right? Not citing ChatGPT, but actually finding where the information came from, tracking it all the way to its original source. And yeah, I don't know. I think the podcasts they're looking quite intriguing. Something I'm looking forward to trying. With apologies, I don't know if it's available in mainland China. So using Draftback, I would recommend definitely. Speed writing, again, I can tell you it works well, and it works well with AI. Podcasts, I think, are a very promising area. Reflective learning, though, like getting students to reflect on the feedback they get, maybe giving them worksheets based on their frequent errors, quizzes based on that, which is easy to compile these days. You can do that in one spreadsheet, actually, for an entire class. Yeah, with apologies, I think we're just about close to question and answer time. Process writing can keep your students honest and engaged. I think it better prepares EFL students for their academic and their professional lives in the future, because it's not going to go away, and they need to know how to use it and to use it well. I think, again, Rodney Jones used the example of a painting and a paintbrush. I would probably go with a hammer. And I would think, okay, when do you use like a tack hammer? When do you use a sledgehammer? When do you use a claw hammer? That sort of thing. But yeah, preparing them for their future where they will use it for sure. And in the future, I hope that this is something that can be incorporated in other educational settings. and then also for professional training. Here are some references. And with that in mind, I guess Q&A time. Okay, if I could get any. I see no resemblance at all. That's Norman again. Turn it off. Huh? Okay, yeah, I'll use that, and I guess. Yeah, any questions or reactions?
Thank you very much, Professor, and your innovative introduction for a lot of different tools we can use in the class, which is really useful for a lot of class pedagogy design. And I actually have a question about because you mentioned in your draft, in your abstract, and also in the presentation, it is a tested practice. So I wonder if you have any data or like pre and post statistics for to what extent AI can help to improve their performance. Is there any score or anything else?
That's an excellent question. Thank you. First of all, definitely a pre and post design. Where my students are at, I think there's been some discussion that went over my head and beyond what I can expect of my students. A lot of what I am doing, as I said, it's teaching rhetoric, but also grammar. And so with grammar, of course, uptake, at least short-term uptake, we do have to be kind of a little bit cautious about the U-shaped development curve that sometimes occurs, but definitely pre-post design, looking at grammatical uptake is something that I'd love to talk to you about in 6 months. So the answer is, at this point, I don't have any data. Thank you. No, I just the teacher. Yeah, as long as they're working in Google Docs. So as I said, I'm in a cloud environment, right? So I'll set up a shared folder for any given assignment. I'll tell them to create a document in that shared folder. And then I go in and open them all at once. Often I'll be watching them write if we're doing something in class. But I can see, yeah, that draft back just ticking away when they're writing, or if it's late at night and I'm doing corrections, I'll be able to just quickly eyeball it and see whether or not there's an appropriate number of changes. Thank you. Great question.
Professor, thank you for the illuminating talk today. I just want to ask specifically about your students using draftback to ensure authenticity from your point of view on their writing, and the fact that you can encourage them to get ChatGPT to give them personalized feedback on issues, technical issues such as grammar. What do you feel your students appreciate most from you with the feedback that you give? What is it that they value that you bring that these AI models can't give them, or they don't feel is valuable enough?
Yeah, that's definitely something to contemplate. I think if you were in the plenary shortly before lunch, we saw a photo of like a robot in front of the room, and yeah. So what is it? The human element? What more particularly? What would that be? Well, initiating discussions that they can scaffold when they are starting their writing is a big part of it. Critical thinking, peer evaluation, guiding, and then yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, with my students, they need to have it spelled out to them. What is an introduction? What's a good introduction? A hook, for example. You need a hook. You need something where you say something intriguing in your introduction that will prompt people or encourage people to further read, that sort of thing. What is a conclusion? That basic rhetorical structure is not something that I think AI teaches. It just spits something out for them. But for the grammar, it's brilliant at this point in time. I truly appreciate it. Great TA. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, I think we have just time for one more question. Although
see, now Norman is not here. And so when we were kind of trying to decide how we were going to do this, I said, I think it would be good to tell the students that I can see this sort of stuff. And I have in previous classes. And Norman was like, are you crazy? No. So I think it has a little bit to do with approach. In my case, I haven't directly. I haven't explained the whole mechanism, but I mean, they have some sense that I can tell what they're doing and how they're doing it without any direct knowledge of dropback. See, that's it. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to stress them out really, and think how. Right. Yeah. To have them think that Sensei is looking over their shoulder all the time. That's already they have enough trouble with production as it is without that sort of anxiety. Absolutely. Thank you.
We'll go for the coffee break.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to this session by Junyang, Wang, and Kean. I hope I'm not wrong about the pronunciation of the names. The title of the presentation is Scaffolding Creativity, a Malaysian case study on AI-powered writing tools in primary education. Well, Junyang has got 20 minutes of time to present, and then we can start asking questions. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My research topic is Scaffolding Creativity, a Malaysian case study on AI-powered writing tools in primary education. I'm Junyang from the University of Nottingham, Malaysia. This paper is completed with my professor, Dr. Kean Lee. Actually, this is my final year project of my undergraduate study. So today I intend to share my experiences and some challenges I faced during this research. So this presentation is divided by 5 main sessions, started with introduction, literature review, methods, followed by findings and discussion. To start with, what is creativity? Well, it is widely defined as the novel and variable production of work. In the context of education, it involves divergent thinking, which is the ability to form original ideas and the ability to solve problems from various perspectives. It also has been recognized as a critical skill for 21st century learning. Here, writing is seen as an effective media for enhancing creativity, as it requires students to generate original ideas, synthesize diverse information, and solve problems from during plot development and character interactions. Despite its importance, current English curricula often emphasize measurable outcomes, such as grammar, vocabulary. Therefore, teachers often focus on grammar and vocabulary teaching. Thus, students may overlook the importance of idea generation and creativity. Moreover, there is limited effective resources that can support students in creative writing process, such as effective teaching strategies, samples, and tools. Thus, students tend to view creative writing as a difficult, task-oriented task rather than an engaging process. It ultimately reduces students' motivation and confidence. The core issue here is the lack of effective teaching strategies that inspire and support students in developing their creative writing skills. Now, the technology developed, and it presents new opportunities to better facilitate students' writing process. I believe you all know these platforms is really popular. Like Grammar and Quillbook focus on mechanics and grammar. They could identify errors and offer corrections. Also, ChatGPT, which is a advanced language models, to facilitate narrative constructions by rephrasing sentences, generating ideas, and suggesting plot developments, and many, many other functions. However, like some students became heavily reliant on advanced AI tools such as like GPT, right? So they use it as a source of inspiration to complete creative writing tasks. So it ultimately diminished opportunities for the development of original ideas and creativity for students. There is a study indicates that AI's impacts depends on how the tools are integrated into instruction. Therefore, this study tries to fill this gap by exploring how level appropriated AI tools can be combined with the structured pedagogy, teaching learning cycle to enhance creative writing skills. Here are the two research questions. First, does an AI assist writing tool with the TLC framework enhance the creative writing ability of primary students? Second, what are the primary school students' perceptions and preferences in using AI tools and pedagogical approach in creative writing? So next is the literature review. So various pedagogy strategies have been employed in nowadays classroom to teach writing, such as collaborative writing, workshop, task-based learning. But it is worth noting that these strategies are grounded in the process writing approach, from brainstorming, drafting, and feedback. So students start to think freely and explore different topics with teachers' guidance. Then students start to write and finally receive comments from teachers to improve in the future. So why is the TLC approach adopted in this study? So in the traditional process writing methods, students go through a cycle of brainstorming, drafting, feedback, but the teacher support is difficult to sustain for every student during the process. In contrast, TLC combined with AI offers more structured support and better scaffolding for every single student. So we can explain it from these 4 stages. So in the first stage, the teacher introduces the writing topics or scenario, and then demonstrates how to use AI, helping students to activate their background knowledge. Next, in the deconstruction, which is the modeling stage, using the AI's outputs to analyze the text together with the class. So teacher could ask questions related to the components that are taught in the lesson to help students understanding. Then, during the joint construction, students input their own ideas and let the AI generate. While teachers could walk around in the classroom and provide guidance and monitor. Finally, in the independent construction, students just apply everything they learn from both teachers and AIs to write their own work. So these 4 stages together gradually build students' language skills and confidence, making the creative writing process more accessible and effective. So in this study, the AI comment generator from Toolbus was chosen as the intervention tool. So the reason I chose it is because first, it is a white-based platform, free, no sign needed, which is really good for primary school students who don't have email accounts. Also, the prompt is preset by the designer, so users do not need to enter any prompts. They just need to input their ideas, whether keywords, sentences, bullet points. Another advantage is that it generates storylines panel by panel, so it doesn't generate a full text. So students won't rely on it too much. So here is an example of how this tool works. The 2 line above is my idea. So I just input the my idea there. So it actually generated 6 panels, but I just included one of it. So in each panel, it visualized the content into different parts, like citing, character, visuals, captions, as well as a graphic. By breaking down the story into manageable visual components, it supports students in organizing their ideas and enhancing their ability to create a coherent and imaginative story. So the methods I use, so firstly, this study was conducted with 2 Year 6 EFL classes from a Malaysian public school with 70 students in total. Students were divided into control and experimental group. The control group conducted traditional instruction following the process writing approach. The experimental group received a AI-integrated instruction together with the TLC approach using the AI comic generator. This study adopted an explanatory sequential mixed method design, starting from quantitative method to qualitative methods. To solve the first research question, there is a pre-questionnaire to collect their pre-data like their gender, age, and prior experiences, followed by pre-test and post-test after the intervention. The writing task requires students to write an 80 words text in 25 minutes. This is the combined marking rubric that I use to assess writing pieces through 5 aspects: originality, development of plot, characterization, setting, and use of language. This combined with the consensual assessment technique and assessment of narrative writing. The last section of phase 1 is a post-questionnaire. Together with the semi-structured interview in phase 2, they aim to solve the second research question. So the unified theory of acceptance and use of technology, the UTAL2 model, was applied as the theoretical framework to collect data from these 7 perspectives. I'll just briefly introduce each of them. So firstly, performance expectancy is whether students think the tool helps them writing. Secondly, effort expectancy is how easy the tool is to use. Social influence is whether students feel encouraged by people around them to use the tool. Facilitating condition is the availability of resources and knowledge for using the tool effectively. Hedonic motivation is whether the experience is enjoyable or fun while using the tool. The habit is whether using the tool become a routine for the users. Finally, the behavioral intention is the student's willingness and intention to continue using the tool in the future. So all the dimensions together examine students' perceptions and preferences of using the tool. So this is the methods I used for data collection. So we first checked the normality of the data to determine the appropriate statistic text. Based on the results, a pure sample test and non-parametric test was conducted. For the questionnaire session, the reliability and descriptive analysis were performed. In addition, thematic analysis was conducted to gain deeper insights into the qualitative data from the semi-structured interviews. Coming to the findings. So this is for the first research question. So the picture in the left-hand side, so the orange bar represents the control group and the white bar represents the experimental group. This is the results of the pair sample test. So as you can see that both groups showed a similar baseline performance in the pre-test, and both of them improved from pre to post-test with a slightly greater gains in the experimental groups. So it may suggest an enhanced role by AI to guide creative writing, but in the non-parametric test, which is the second picture, since the p-value was greater than 0.05, we failed to reject the new hypothesis. So it indicates that there was no statistically significant differences between the 2 groups. Coming to the qualitative strand of students' perceptions and preferences when using the AI tool. So this slide is focusing on the affordance. So firstly, students found it's easy to use the tool and learn after receiving some initial guidance. It also supported creative writing, creative idea generation and organization, helping them structure their thoughts more effectively. Also, compared to traditional methods, students describe the AI assisting writing process more active, interactive, and engaging. It makes the writing process feel less like a task and more like a creative experiences. Overall, the tool was positively received, with students showing interest in continuing to use it and would encourage others to use. In terms of its challenges that students faces, so while the software were user-friendly, but some students faced challenges with hardware access, logging, and connecting to the internet. And some of the students struggle with slow typing. So these issues will link to students' limited peer exposure to technology. So there is a need for technical support from teachers. But one teacher is quite hard to support several students in the class at once. So that's an issue. In addition, although parents or teachers are aware of this tool, but they don't really know and understand its uses and benefits. Without encouragement from people influence the students, the tool remains mostly confined to classroom use. It hasn't yet become a regular habit for them. So discussion. So the limitation and challenges that I faced during the research. Firstly, the time constraint. So this intervention period is quite short. Even it is a 6-week intervention, but it's like 1 session per week. That 3 sessions for the experimental group and 3 sessions for the control group. So the actual usage time of the tool was limited. Still, students likely didn't have enough time to build confidence and proficiency with the tool. Meanwhile, the creative writing also requires long-term practices and feedback, which a brief intervention could not fully support. So the results may not fully capture the long-term effects of AI integration on writing skills. Second, as the participants are young students and most of them are use English as the second language or even foreign language, their English proficiency level isn't that high. So I try to explain things in simple terms, but some of them still need more time to process tasks or ask questions again and again. So a limited depth of their responses and may have introduced extra variability to our majors. Thirdly, this research was conducted in a single non-randomized classrooms, which limits the generalizability to other EFL contexts. Finally, the tool dependency, that the results may reflect the specific AI platform used, not all AI tools. A short summary. Combining the AI assisting writing tool with the TLC motivates students and support them in generating richer ideas and more varied narrative structures, thereby enhancing their creative experiences and expression. Yet, it requires sustained and scaffolding support. So it highlights the importance of ongoing guidance throughout the learning process from teachers. So AI should be integrated as a scaffold to support rather than a replacement to replace teacher-led instruction. It ensures that educators remain the central to facilitate students' learning and development. So in light of the findings and discussion, several implications and recommendations are provided. First, we broaden our view beyond the classroom to the key stakeholders who can support AI-assisted creative writing in schools. So for the policymakers, we recommend to embed AI in education models into continuous professional development programs, which is the CPT programs. So this may include some technical guidance on AI tools, pedagogy strategies for designing AI-incorporated lessons, and managing potential challenges. For schools, They could take like 2 steps. First, conduct ICT lessons regularly for students so that they can build a foundations in digital literacy. Secondly, organizing some like family-oriented activities where parents and children could explore the AI tools together. Finally, parents can engage by joining online forums or some chatting groups to share tips and resources on a safe and productive use of AI tools for the children. In terms of the internal perspectives, for teachers, AI can help with grammar, vocabulary, and structure feedback. So teachers could focus more on creativity and coherence within the TLC framework, while also teacher could carefully monitoring the tool uses to prevent over-reliance. For curriculum development, the developers could integrate AI assist writing tools as a scaffold at different phases of structured pedagogical frameworks, such as the TLC. Specifically, they could develop pilot lessons with sample lessons that incorporate TLC with the AI tools into existing curricula as practical models for teachers. For future research, the researchers could explore the long-term impact and cultural adaptability in EFL settings. So that's all. And here is the references. Any questions?
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed listening to your presentation. Any questions? Is there another microphone there? Any questions? If you don't have any questions, I have questions to ask. Well, I have 2 questions actually, because nobody is asking a question. I would like to ask. You have used an explanatory sequential mixed method design, yeah? And did the quantitative phase of this study also inform the qualitative phase? And if yes, how? Because this was not mentioned.
I thank you for your question. So the qualitative methods, it more focus on the improvements. So, but they are quite linked to the qualitative thing. So as you can see that there is a slightly better gains in the experimental group, but the results like the p-value is greater than the 0.005. Yeah. Oh yeah. So the results in the qualitative phases explain that results. So like some students have like technical challenges. So this may reflect like why the result is like not really there is no significant differences between. So that's the so this is the marking rubric that I use. So together, these 5 components like originality, development of plots, characterization settings, and the language uses, they combine together to assess the creativity. Yeah, this is the marking rubric that is.
I'm sorry, like, so is it a tested method for measuring creativity?
Yeah, these 2 are both tested, but I just like combine it together to more like appropriate for my study.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
Any other person? Well, I have another question, and that is, you have measured students, actually, you interviewed the students after the intervention, okay? Why didn't you interview the students before the intervention to understand their perceptions and see if the intervention has been influential and useful for them or not? Because you know, when you examine someone's perception after an intervention, so definitely that person would say, yeah, it had huge effects on me. So why didn't you examine their perceptions before the intervention?
So before the intervention, I actually conducted the pre-questionnaire rather than an interviews because of the time constraints that provided by the school and teachers. So as like what I can say from the pre-questionnaire, the data collection, like some of them use the AI and technology before, but they don't use it in the school for learning. So that's what I get. Yeah.
Due to limitations.
Yeah.
Okay, good. We have 5 minutes actually. You can ask any question. And one final question. What's your opinion about conducting the same study through other ChatGPT or AI tools? I mean, in terms of comparing different tools. Would that be insightful in the context of a study like that, or no, it would be something unnecessary? I mean, you have used one specific instrument, AI tool, yeah? So what about using different types of AI tools?
I think it depends on the participants first, because my participants are primary school students, so they may not need like so advanced like tools for them. So it may be a difficulty for them as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Got a question?
Thank you very much for your presentation. I have a little question that when we apply this UT80 model, that universal model, so did you verify your results using any model, structural SEM or structural equation modeling? Did you validate your results using any model?
Pardon, could you repeat your question? Sorry.
I mean, you apply AUT, right? To check the behavioral intention to use AI in writing. So did you use any SEM model to verify your results? Validation of your findings, yes. Yeah.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah.
But I didn't really cover that aspects actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And time doesn't finish, actually. That's why we have to, if you have any questions, you can ask.
Do you mind if I ask, like, whether how the teachers guided the students to create their stories on the platform? Do they provide any instructions, or students just work on their own, and then the teachers provide some sort of like consultation or technical, assistance with technology?
Sure. So the teachers actually have a sessions to teach students, teach students how to use the tool, like before they actually use it, and also during the usage, teachers also provide guidance, like cause like students may ask a lot of questions actually, like how to use it, what should I do, something like that. So actually, teachers provide the guidance throughout the process, except the post test. Yeah.
Yeah, is it possible to tell what makes the difference, whether it's the teacher's guidance instruction, or whether it is the use of AI tool or that particular AI tool. You mentioned in the limitation of the study already, but that it could be the consequence of using that particular tool. But there is another aspect to consider, like whether it's the teacher's instruction that work or whether it's the AI that work. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So like both the students from both groups receive the same instruction from the teacher. The only difference is that the control group receive the uses AIs during the session. It's like the students first use the AI to enter their ideas, and the tools could generate some like storylines for them. So to help them structure their ideas, and then students write on their own without the AI.
What kind of instruction?
So the teacher first introduces like the journey of the writing text. So that's like teach like, well, what should you include in the story, like character setting and plot, the basic components. So that's, and then for the control group, and then students just start to write. And for the experimental group, and then teacher introduces students with the AI tool, and then students start to use the AI tool to try, and then come to the post test tool.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your answer.
Okay, thank you very much, Junyang. Actually, I found this a good piece of stuff, food for thought, and I wish you luck in conducting the study successfully. And I'm finalizing it, developing a paper, and submitting it to a journal or whatever you like. So thank you. If you don't have any other questions, we can call it a session. And that's that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Testing, testing. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. My name is Junru Yang from Shantou University, and my topic today is enhancing EFL Learners Descriptive Skills through AI-Integrated Communicative Activities. This is more practical-based presentation, and I hope that you will be relaxing and engaging for both you and I. This is the outline of my presentation. I will first briefly explain why I choose to focus on descriptive skills and how AI can help with the teaching and learning of descriptive skills. And then I will introduce a few AI-supported teaching activities in detail. And I will quickly summarize the section and open the floor for discussion and questions. So why do I choose to focus on descriptive skills? To describe means to create a mental picture with words. And some people think that is a natural speaking or writing skill. The fact is actually people differ greatly in terms of their ability to describe or to create vivid pictures with words. I teach English to undergraduates, and I find some of my students are quite good at providing detailed descriptions, and some of them actually give me very planned accounts of things. And there are many reasons actually. some of them probably because of the language. Like one of the obvious reason is a limited vocabulary, and especially a limited active vocabulary, to be accurate. And then some of them are just not accustomed to using sensory or figurative language. And that also has something to do with like the cognitive complexity of the speaker or writer, because to describe means to combine language with imagination. And there are some other factors, for example, like Junyang mentioned just now, that some students are not exposed to creative writing tasks so much in the process of their learning. So these are the reasons. Actually, I discovered that some people need to be purposefully directed to this aspect of language use. And another reason I choose to focus on this is that trying to create descriptive descriptive speech or descriptive writing is a good language practice. It will draw people's attention to the nuanced choice of words. So, how can we use AI to assist the teaching and learning of descriptive skills? By using AI, there are several benefits. It can help students expand their vocabulary. Students can instruct AI to provide them with a list of words on a certain theme, and by doing this, students might learn new vocabulary or language structures. They might also kind of like turn their passive vocabulary into active vocabulary. And by instructing AI to provide sensory details and figurative language, such as metaphor, simile, hyperbole, personification, etc. These are the things that some people do not readily come up with, or they don't have, they are not accustomed to using in their daily life. And students can use those examples for models, like they can model after those examples. And AI can also provide timely feedback to students, so that when students can ask AI to point out their mistakes, or ask AI to help them refine their descriptive paragraphs. And another reason is AI can actually turn text input into multimodal output. And that creates an authentic purpose for writing or crafting vivid descriptions. So the first activity that I want to introduce here is creating an image or video by modeling others' prompts. And this was actually inspired by my son when he was playing with those prompts to create videos and pictures that he wanted. The purpose of this activity is to provide exposure to examples of descriptive language and encourage learners to model and practice similar usage. Expand and activate students' repertoire of descriptive vocabulary and language structures, and communicate with AI to create the desired visual, and that's the real world purpose. If students successfully come up with the kind of the right spells, they will get the picture they want or the video they want. And I introduced my students to two tools. One is Wang Xiang, another is Midjourney. But students cannot use Midjourney freely on the mainland. So I asked them to use Wang Xiang because that can, it's free, and they have a high free quota every day. So this is the procedure. They can access an image AI generation website, AI image generation website. They pick one existing picture and video that they like, and they study the prompt or spell used to create it. modify the prompt by changing key content words or adjusting specific details to generate an image that reflects their own ideas. This is an example of what my son did with the spells in Chinese. So these words in bold are descriptive language, and by trying to change the prompts or the spells for his own needs, he actually paid attention to the descriptive language used here in the original prompt, and he also tried to use his own, try to activate his own language repertoire and to come up with his own prompt. So this is another one. And for the purpose of teaching my EFL learners, I took spells from Midjourney because those spells are in English. And I took spells from Midjourney and I asked my students to try to analyze the spells and try to replace the elements in the spells to reflect their own ideas. So this is a butterfly from Midjourney. And this is a goldfish based on their change spells. But this one is not a very good example for creativity because the spell is actually slightly changed. And I will talk about that later. So the potential problem with this activity is grammar issue with the original prompts. Because these prompts, even though rich in descriptive language, some of them are not grammatical or they are full of sentence fragments. And another issue is students might focus more on getting cool results from the AI rather than on practicing descriptive language, like the example I used, the goldfish example. And then because the task involves modeling existing prompts, some students may rely too heavily on imitation and show minimal personal input or creative variation. And this limits opportunities for deeper engagement and authentic expression. And also concerns about the issue of plagiarism. Because, I mean, when people are trying to create their own spells or the prompts, they are encouraged to slightly modify the existing prompts and that get a new prompt to create something new. But then in real life writing, you can't do that because that will lead to plagiarism. So students be reminded that this is just for the purpose of practice, and the purpose of the activity is to get them pay attention to the descriptive language in the spells and to practice using descriptive language rather than for real purpose, real life writing purpose. And the potential solutions, like I just mentioned, clarify the purpose of the activity and organize follow-up discussion for students to, number one, figure out the grammar mistakes in the prompts and correct them. Explain why they chose the original prompt and why they kept some parts of it unchanged. So they will focus on the language. And compare their prompts with the original ones and explain how language changes affect visual output. Again, that will also draw their attention to the language, to their word choices. And the second activity is one that I use for warm up, as an icebreaker at the beginning of the semester with my students. So the idea is to teach them the skill to capture the key physical features of a person or an object in descriptions, and to expand and activate descriptive vocabulary across appearance-related categories in this particular task. And the real world purpose is that it can help students remember new classmates and build classroom rapport. So in preparation, students will ask or consult an AI tool to generate a list of, for example, 10 or 12 or 8 or 20 commonly used descriptive words for each of the following categories. So that we'll have the vocabulary preparation, and then we can allow students some time to review and understand these words before the beginning of the activity. So they will get a list of things like that. They will get a word list from AI like this. And then when the main procedure starts, students will work in groups of 4 to 5. So they can take turns describing a person in the group or in the classroom. And the description should use vocabulary from the AI-generated list where possible. And the group members will listen carefully and guess who's being described. The group has about 10 minutes to play the game, or 15 minutes. It's totally up to you. Rotating roles between describer and guessers. And if someone guesses the description correctly, both the speaker and the guesser get 1 point. They will be rewarded for successful communication. And a follow-up activity could be like each student selects one description he or she gave during the game. And then they revise and refine the description and then turn it into a prompt for an AI image generator, instructing the AI image generator to create a cartoon image based on the following description. And then once the image is generated, compare the cartoon image with the real person described in terms of main features like this one. The cartoon, actually this one is generated by AI. I hesitate to use my students' faces in the presentation. So I actually use a fake person. And the students can ask the person being described for feedback and suggestions to improve the description so that the AI-generated image can better reflect him or her. And this cartoon can be used by students to share on social media platforms to represent them. So a word of caution is like we should consider the cultural context where the activity is conducted. In mainland and among my students, this is fine. But then one of my friends who's from Europe, she warned me that this activity should be conducted with caution if it's in the US or or in Europe, because sometimes you will mention like some of the key or distinctive features of a person. Probably will be like the shape of the shape, the size, the skin color, etc. But that could be sensitive. That could be culturally sensitive. And then we also need to encourage students to focus on positive traits of the person described in this activity. And the third activity I want to share would be another one, creating your own personal WeChat emoji. And the objective is to help students learn the skill to describe feelings and emotions by focusing on facial expressions and body language. And then they can also discover and apply words related to emotions, facial expressions, body language, and then build up their vocabulary. And the real world purpose is that by doing this, they can create emojis to express emotions visually in everyday communication via WeChat. So they should warm up first with a discussion in groups. Think about the cutest or most impressive emoji they have ever seen. Take that as an example, like what made it stand out to you, what specific elements such as facial expressions, body language, colors, or accessories reflect the emotion it expresses. And then they will choose an emotional state or feeling they want to express. Select an avatar for the emoji. It can be an animal, cartoon character, imaginary creator, etc. And they can use an AI tool, like which one is free, they will use which one. So there are a lot of free AI tools that they can use. And they create a list of descriptive words related to their chosen emotion, and brainstorm body language and facial expressions, facial expression cues that match the feeling. And they write an emoji creation prompt describing how the emoji should look, including details like posture, expression, accessories, and emotional tone. And use an AI image generation tool to create it. And share the prompt with their classmates together with the emoji and get the classmates' feedback in the discussion. So this is a sample prompt. And these are the descriptive language that I expect them to use. This is another one. This is another one. The reminder of this activity is that you might need to provide students with example prompt to follow at the very beginning and walk them through. And this one, the fourth activity that I want to share today is to pitch a place, a podcast activity to recommend travel destinations. This one is a less controlled activity, and then it allows students to create longer extended text of description. So students can work in pairs or small groups to plan and present a short podcast episode, like 2 to 3 minutes, where they recommend a place to visit. They can use AI tools to brainstorm, refine descriptions, and enhance their use of figurative language. And their goal is to paint a vivid picture of the place and convince the listeners to visit it. The purpose is to use figurative language to create vivid imagery, and this is focused on figurative language, the use of figurative language. And the real world purpose is, like I mentioned, to promote a place as a travel destination. So the first step, they pick a place, and it could be a famous city, an unknown place they visited and like. Sorry, a typo here, or their own hometown. And then use AI to brainstorm descriptions or descriptive language like this one. And then they can draft their podcast script as a group and use ideas from the AI. But they need to rewrite and personalize them to fit their own voice and experience. However, they are encouraged to focus on sensory details and figurative language and emotional appeal. And then they will rehearse, record, and share their podcast. So I share your concerns over over-reliance on AI, and also your concerns about accessibility to technology and AI tools. So when I was designing the teaching activities, I took into consideration of these factors. I try to incorporate peer and student-teacher interaction as much as possible, so that there will be some sort of human feedback. And then because they have to work together, they have to discuss the language, they have to discuss their writing, and then include a real-world purpose for the task. So the solutions that I suggest to address the concerns is to teach students to use AI wisely and responsibly. Tell them that learning is their own thing. They take, with this kind of technology, with AI, they take control of their own learning, but whether learning happens or not, that affects them. And they should actively seek opportunities for learning to happen, rather than turning in a piece of homework or a piece of like a product and say, okay, this is what you want. They are not giving me what I want. They are giving themselves learning experience. And then clarify the use, the purpose of the activity and the purpose of use of AI, whether they are for practice, whether they are as tutors, and emphasize on the process. And by doing this kind of like videos or pictures, students are actually learning by doing. Because in the process, in order to come up with the right prompts, or in order to come up with the right podcast script, they need to learn some new expressions, new skills. So learning by doing happens. And my suggestions would be like, start with something small. Start with small, sorry, a typo. Start with small and low stake tasks that will reduce students' anxiety. And keep AI in service of expression and keep students' own voices as much as possible. Encourage them to keep their own voices, because that way they wouldn't rely on AI. All right, so do you have any questions? Okay.
Thank you for your very informative presentation about teaching descriptive language. I wonder if we teach descriptive language, we'll put less emphasis on the grammar parts of their writing, because I imagine if the students are engaged in the activities, they may focus more on the product and also the descriptive language, but they might ignore the grammaticality of their text. So what do you think?
Yeah, that's why I suggest in one of the activities, I suggested that students should discuss in groups or with their peer or with their teacher regarding the grammar issues in the prompts. That's one way we adjust the grammar, and they can also ask AI to provide them with feedback, like check the text for grammar mistakes, and they will get instant feedback from AI. Did I answer did I answer your question? Yeah.
That means no.
Okay. Yeah.
Because she was nodding her head. That means no.
Because I think the activities is more focused on the descriptive language and also the product of it. So it may be something that we cannot balance because we have some focus on in the lesson. But I do agree that we can do something about their grammar.
I guess you are talking about like preparing students for some sort of standardized examinations, or like in because my context is a tertiary level university. I mean tertiary level classroom. We don't focus on grammar because my courses are communicative, and we focus on whether students get their ideas through, whether students can communicate effectively. So we don't actually emphasize that much on grammar. But if we are preparing students for like some sort of standardized exams like Gaokao, or CD4 or 6, we need to create or come up with other activities that specifically focus on grammar. Thank you very much.
Well, I think possibly this question is due to lack of clarity on descriptive skills and the operational definition of descriptive skills, because that is like a black box too for me too. That what are actually descriptive skills, in what sense, in what terms, in terms of oral skills, written skills. I mean, this kind of lack of clarity may be one problem with that. That it could mean different things to different people.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like even though at the very beginning, I say that like the descriptive skills that I'm talking about here is to create a mental picture with words, right? But then that mental picture can mean different things. Like, yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? If you don't have questions, do you mind if I ask you one? I hope this could be an interactive section. Like, how do you teach descriptive skills? Like the kind of descriptive skills you believe, and then which AI tools have you tried? What do you see as the biggest opportunities or risks?
You? Yeah. I could guess.
Thank you for you so good for you project. No, I mean you do this way is for project, also for class.
Like, are they projects or classroom activities? Well, like I mentioned, because I teach a course on communication, And we don't really have specific, very, very rigid like goals. We don't have specific, very, very specific like grammar aspects to cover in this course. The purpose is to encourage students to express themselves in the either in speaking or writing. So these activities are actually done in the classroom. Some of the activities could take can take quite long, right? But these are the activities done in the classroom. What concerns me would be like if I ask the students to do it after class, because many of them do not get access to platforms in English, so they get access to platforms in Chinese.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they can easily, I mean, they can do everything in Chinese, and they come up with the product and give me the outcomes. And I don't know whether they're practicing English or practicing Chinese. So I normally do such activities in the classroom.
Yeah, because I heard you today talk about the youth potential and so much good idea for teach to the class. And how about your students? Them is feeling is so exciting, as enjoying, as max, as social, as boring. But what about you think you students at class?
Pardon? I mean, let me see. Do I get your question correctly? Like, are you asking me the students' responses to
Yeah,
these kind of activities, right?
Yeah.
They are engaged. They are engaged because they are actually using the language. They are actually doing something with the language. They are trying to create something that they can share with others. And in the process, they are using the language to achieve these purposes. So they are engaged. But I'm not quite sure about younger learners because I don't have much experience with younger learners. I do have experience with my own 14-year-old. He loves creating this kind of stuff, and he did pick up pick up the language in the process. However, I don't know about like teaching a group of younger learners with this kind of activities. So that's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming to my section.
Thank you very much.